need to be a sniper, right? You need to look at 1,000 people and do whatever you can to be like, okay, from this group of 1,000, who are the 3 most likely to buy what I'm about to sell? You know, when you meet someone who is doing numbers that you wouldn't believe a human can do, and you talk to them and you're like, you're kind of normal.
Yeah.
You just thought bigger. On day 1, nobody cares about your brand. And on day maybe 100, still nobody cares about your brand. But on day 5,000, everything you invest in your brand pays off.
Welcome back to Rise Podcast, life stories of accomplished individuals. Guys, I'm going to jump into it right away. But before I do, I want to thank you guys again. As always, we are scaling up. When I say we, I mean us, you, me, us. We're building this community. We are getting so much value from these guests. And if you can help me to keep this going by telling your friends, asking them to subscribe, and please like the video, comment, and let's get a conversation going. So today, we have Aaron Spivak with us. And at the age of 18, Aaron co-founded Revitasize, a chain of organic cold press juice kitchens. And within 4 years, he expanded to 8 stores in Toronto. He went on to be co-founder of sleep improvement company Hush, selling weighted blankets designed to aid in sleep, anxiety, insomnia, and ADHD. Aaron appeared on the Canadian hit TV show Dragon's Den and earned most epic pitch of the season and created a bidding war between all 6 dragons. And for the Americans who are watching this, Dragon's Den is actually the original. Dragon's Den is what Shark Tank was based on. So the Americans took Dragon's Den and they iterated on that concept and they created Shark Tank. So you understand the concept of the show. In a landmark deal for Canadian e-commerce, I'm not done talking about Hush. He went on to develop the Hush pillow, mattress, iced cooling sheets, and more. In a landmark deal for Canadian e-commerce, a majority stake in Hush was acquired by Sleep Country at a valuation of $48 million, only 4 years after Aaron and his co-founders started with their modest $4,000 investment. Aaron has been featured in Forbes, The Financial Post, and many other publications. He is also a member of the exclusive Forbes 30 Under 30 list. Aaron is also a former Canadian Junior Hockey League player, 5th in all-time scoring in the OJHL, OUA champion. He's a public speaker, an investor, and a startup advisor. And I want to point out that Aaron is 29 years old. Aaron, how's it going, man?
It's going well, man. Thank you for having me.
I can see that it's going well. I go through it. It's a challenge for me because I've been trying to make these intros shorter because I go back and I listen myself to my episodes just to get, to see what I'm doing wrong, where I can improve. And my intros are so lengthy and I'm thinking to myself, wow, I got to shorten these things. But the caliber of my guests, I've been very fortunate to have such amazing guests like yourself that it takes time. And what's interesting with you is that at the age of 29, it still took a lot of time for me to create this bio. So good for you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Just to give you a bit of a backstory. So you are one of 5 brothers.
Yep.
And the reason I know that, besides the fact that you recently told me, is that long before meeting you, I met your mom at one of the Revitasize stores where she was working, and she was running with you. I'm not,
Yeah.
And I remember I would, on my way to work, I lived up in Richmond Hill, and on the location it was Dufferin and Center.
Yep.
On the way, I would always stop, and I would speak with your mom, and your mom is Israeli.
Yep.
And as is my wife. So I would always chat with your mom, and your mom kind of knew who my wife was because she had stopped in a few times too.
Yeah.
And she had told me that she had 5 boys, and when she told me she had 5 boys, I was blown away.
Nobody believes it.
Nobody believes it.
Yeah.
Nobody believes it. How was it growing up?
Sorry.
I want to give you more context.
Okay.
I want to have more context to my question.
Okay.
I'm a big context guy.
All right.
So before you, I want you to answer. Here's what I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me how it was growing up with 5 brothers. But more importantly, I want to understand if growing up, because I would assume I can see my 3 boys and how competitive they are with each other. Did growing up in that hyper competitive environment, when you've got 4 other guys trying to sit in your seat and take your food, do you think that contributed to your success?
I think in a lot of ways, but one thing that's really important to note is, my parents started the relationship. I mean, they're both born and raised in Israel, and they had my 3 older brothers in Israel. So when they moved to Canada, they didn't have another kid for like another 5 years. And then I was the 4th, and then my younger brother's the 5th. So the gap between me, the 4th, and the second, like the first 3 is 7, 8, and 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, for a lot of people, that seems like a lot. But for me, I always say I had the great advantage of watching my brothers go through stuff way in advance, learning from the good, the bad, the mistakes. But also, it forced me to grow up way faster. So I remember I would start skating at 3 years old, which is very uncommon, because I wanted to play with them. Right. They were already playing. You know, I wanted to play basketball because they were playing basketball when I was really young. So it forced me to age up so much sooner, to the point where like my brothers would have a window cleaning business, and like I would knock doors at 12 years old. But they were already like 19, 20, have this business because I just wanted to get involved. But Royal Rumbles definitely toughened us up. You know, so I was always involved. But yeah, 5 boys in one house. We were a hockey family, mini sticks. Like I got body checked through a wall one time. So everything
by your older brothers.
Yeah, of course. Like you would just, you know, like everything you would expect of a house of 5 boys. That's what we were. But at the same time, it was also intimidating for everyone else. Like I had 4 brothers. You know, so the sense of confidence you get, you know, as a 10-year-old when my brothers are 17, 18, 19, picking me up from school. So it was everything. Like I always say I was the lucky one because I had a younger brother and I had 3 older grown brothers who would like protect me and be there for me, which gave me confidence as a young kid for sure.
Sounds like you have a really close family.
For sure, yeah. I mean, my mom keeps us tight. Shabbat dinners were always in the house.
So I want to ask something. It's a selfish question. So as you know, I have 3 boys. You've met them all.
Yeah.
Like I always remind them, you guys are, you know, you're best friends. You have to be best friends. You have to stay close. Like there's a certain power and a strength by having each other that, you know, as you go through life, because I'm not always going to be around. So you have to be close. Did your parents instill that in you, that closeness?
They did, but without like communicating it that way.
How did my question is how? I want to learn how to do it.
So my mom, even like still today, like we live, you know, all over. There's grandkids now. There's, you know, people are grown. There's so many. Not for me, but like my 3 older brothers all have 2 kids each. They have wives. Like just the life is really busy, but my mom is still really consistent no matter what. Throughout all the years, she'll host a Shabbat dinner, which is a Friday night dinner that like Jewish people do, that we do. And she's adamant on like, if you're available, you're there. And it's really something that's special because it brings us all together. And now, because like we're all a lot older and I see a lot of like other families that are older, it's really hard to bring people together. Like you might only see your whole family 2 or 3 times a year. When I met Hannah, like my girlfriend, and she realized how often my family's together. She's like, is this normal? And I realized that like it might be normal for me, but my mom was always very adamant and she knows like, you know, she's Moroccan. She knows good food brings the guys back to the table. So she'll make an incredible dinner and we're all there eating. But yeah, that's how we've kind of stayed really, really close. Like we're at the table 3-4 hours. And my mom has been the conductor of all that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And have you collaborated a lot with your brothers? I know that you're the co-founder at Hush. He's not your brother. He's a friend of yours.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine. We, you know, work at Revised Size together. My 2 older brothers now like run it completely. My parents are both really heavily involved. My mom created like all of our famous recipes. She created out of our kitchen. So they're really close to that. My younger brother has a cold tub business and I'm like involved in that. So my eldest brother just started a water company. Like, so we're all kind of in it. We're talking about it all the time, but it's another thing that kind of keeps us together.
I was going to say, I mean, it's not common. Like I don't come across a lot of situations where you have, first of all, as many siblings and as not so much as many siblings, but as big of a family as you have. And literally all of you are entrepreneurs.
Yeah, something I mean, my mom, you know, my parents came to Canada like really with nothing. You know, my mom still doesn't like read or write English. 29 years or whatever it is in the country. You know, so I remember in grade 9, I went to a new high school. They made me do a literacy like test, like write a paragraph. I wrote it. Two days later, the head of the English department pulled me aside, and she's like, "Have you been in ESL ever?" Which is like English as a second language. And I was like, "Well, I was born in Canada. Like, I don't know what you're talking about." And she's like, "Well, what language do your parents speak?"
Hebrew.
And I was like, "Well, they speak Hebrew." And she's like, "Oh, I can tell."
Wow.
Because I was mixing.
But
the
was
two
it
different,
like that? Like she was kind of antagonistic about it?
She was, yeah. She was pretty like in your face. She's like, "Well, you need like a lot of support." You know, I always tell my friends, like, I always thought it was unfair because my friends would go home, they get an English assignment, their dads would rewrite it for them,
Right.
you know, and I would go home and like, I remember learning the ABCs with my mom.
Yeah.
We were doing it at the same time. Sure. Like they were cheating on spelling tests with their parents, and my mom was like, we were both trying to figure out the test at the same time. So, but that instilled, you know, that hustler, like she had to figure it out. And we watched her start so many different businesses. Some, you know, did really well, some failed. And it created an energy in us to like, we need to create. We wanted to create something. And like, you know, I remember doing a lemonade stand on the corner, and my mom was like super, super hyped, and she was excited about it. And I would tell her the sales. And that was always our family's thing, was like, how could we create more? How could we build more?
I think for a lot of immigrants, and by the way, like we're immigrants too. I came to Canada at the age of 3 in 1976 from former, I mean, it was at the time, it was Soviet Ukraine.
Right.
Right. So I'm very familiar with it. I feel that with immigrants, like your mom and dad,
Yeah.
especially they came with 3 kids. That's tough. That's tough.
3 kids under 4.
3 kids under 4. That's tough. And they came, you know, I'm guessing with not a lot of means.
Nope.
No, they didn't speak English. They show up. So it feels like a very similar story to mine. And I feel like there's this commonality among immigrants that they become entrepreneurs. I feel not necessarily because they want to, but because they have to, right? Because they have to, because they're not like, they're coming to a country where they don't speak the language. They don't have the credentials. They don't have the network. They are forced to become entrepreneurs. But the very positive side of that story is that a disproportionately higher, and I have no data behind this,
Right.
but I feel like a disproportionately higher percentage of immigrants who came over in a difficult situation, when they become entrepreneurs by necessity, they have a much higher probability and likelihood of success. And they actually succeed far more, you know, than people who have all the advantages and try businesses. Because they have this like killer instinct, like this no fail attitude.
Well, there's nowhere else to go. I mean, you know, I remember so many times, you know, when my mom was like either starting a business or even when we started the juice business, you know, we started that with 1 day worth of cash flow. And if you know anything about the restaurant business, I think less than 6 months is catastrophic.
Right.
Most people come in with 2 to 3 years of cash flow.
That's a tough business. So you said the restaurant business. That wasn't the juice bar though.
Well, it's a quick service restaurant. But yeah, the juice bar, we had 1 day, which means if we didn't sell the fridge on opening day, we didn't have cash flow to fund the next. We didn't have money to put in the cash register. So we didn't give people change on the first day. We're just like, hey, is that the tip? And like it was that's like tight when we started. And looking back now, you know, I was 18 at the time, but looking back, I would never have agreed to that. But we were ignorant. And I remember my mom would always say, this is what it's about. She was just dead set on like that burn the boats mentality. There was no alternative.
Right.
The only alternative on opening day was selling out the fridge. That was the only option. There wasn't another option.
But when you say selling out the fridge on opening day, just to kind of dive into that a little, you have a place that has no, like it's just there one day. Like it just opens up. So there's no, it's not as if there's like it's not a legacy brand. There's no brand. There's no kind of marketing. There's no, you know, how do you sell out? Like,
well, the interesting, so I guess like a little bit before that, this is 2012, right? So 2012, you know, my brother's playing professional hockey. I'm playing hockey. My mom just completes a 70-day juice fast. 70.
That's
like
wild.
Like not. I
did a 3-day juice fast
3 days,
once.
not 5. 70. She lost. I might be in and around the wrong number, between 70 and 80 pounds.
Oh wow.
Like her hair started, like she just started glowing.
Wow.
And all her friends were like, you know, what's the hack? What did you do? And she's like, well, I juiced. And then everyone went and bought a juicer. They juiced for 2 days, realized it's a headache. They, you know, the juicer ends up in a cupboard somewhere. And they
I actually did not. You reminded me. I did a juice cleanse with Revitasize.
with us.
I did with your mom.
Yeah.
Now that I remember, but this was probably 10 years ago.
Exactly.
It was around the same time.
Exactly 10 years ago.
But you had that Dufferin and Center location.
So that must have been 2013, 14. Yeah, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And we stood at our house. And people would come to my house and my mom would juice like in the kitchen in like a mason jar. And they'd come every day and she would juice for them. They would, you know, do a fast. And eventually they started getting really good results and it started to grow to the point where, you know, I remember at one point I had, you know, when you go into someone's home, they have like a little bench at the front door where you sit and take your shoes off. Mm-hmm. You couldn't do that at my house because I had a cash register there.
Oh, wow.
So you knock on the door. And at one point people were knocking on the doors and we would sell them juices from this is 2012. The healthiest thing after a hockey game, you know, if we had a good game, if I scored goals, would be a Subway. Yeah. You know, and like now we know how an unhealthy Subway is, right? Sure. And so we started like getting really, really busy to the point where we're like, hey, we need to get out of the house. Mm-hmm. You know, my bedroom had fruits and vegetables in it. I'd go at 6 a.m. to the food terminal in Toronto. I'd load up, you know, a car full of pineapples and stuff. And we would juice all day. So eventually we wanted to open up the store. We've never opened up anything in our life. So we like, you know, I remember sitting there with my brother, with the landlord. At 19, he was laughing at us. He's like, why don't you guys open up an ice cream shop? Like, it's enough for this juice stuff. It's weird. No one wants to rent us.
I have a question. Sorry. I got lost there a little bit. You're doing it. Your mom's doing this from home. You have the cash register in front of the house. Whose initiative was it? Who was running this transition into a brick and mortar store?
So my one brother was still playing hockey, contemplating quitting, coming in. My other brother, Near, quit his job, moved home, and kind of brought a level of seriousness to this and said, hey, like we have an opportunity here. Because before that, it was just me and my mom like squeezing vegetables in the house, putting them into mason jars. And he kind of said, quit his job. And he said, like, we need to formalize this and take it really seriously.
It was his, like, he had the vision for it to become.
He had the vision to like take it seriously. And, you know, my mom was just hustling, you know, she was like selling juice cleanses left, right, and center of the fridge, you know, trying to like put some money together. And I would say like 6 months into doing it at home was when we said, okay, we got to get out of the house. And then that's when we said, let's take this seriously and let's try to get a location.
Okay.
And
where was that first location?
Was at Dufferin and Center.
Was that the first one?
And I lived like 2 minutes away. Sure. So it was convenient for us. The problem with that is we've never opened up anything like that in our life. We had zero experience. We had no idea what it would cost. So we said, it's going to cost us $100,000. I don't know where that number came from. And I remember like we started building it out and we were $100,000 in and like we still had nothing built and we had no money left. It was pretty much done. Like we had this, you know, everyone was just panicking. We couldn't open the store.
So hold on one second. I want to point something out because there's a part of the story that I think you're not telling it. It's not like you're intentionally not telling it, but I want to add some more context to this.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with the location, obviously, because I live not too far from there. And it's not as if like juice cleanses in general, and I feel like organic, healthy food. If I had to think of where in the city it would go, that would probably be the last place. This is like, you know, like this kind of a lot of like, you know, Israeli, Russian, Jewish, like, you know, eating like shawarmas and falafels and you know, and so it's predominantly like this, you know, the ethnic community that both you and I, you know, belong to. And they're not, this isn't like, when I think of like the, you know, these juice cleanses, I'm thinking like Yorkville, I'm thinking like Young Professionals, Young and Bloor. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, when you have never done it before, like now you would, you know, take a statistical analysis, you would see like what type of shoppers. For us, it was like, hey, we want something close to the house, you know, like there was no like prior experience.
But it worked out.
It worked out because, I mean, it worked out for a myriad of reasons, but, you know, it worked out really because we had no choice. And one thing that most people actually don't know was 4 months before we were set to open, we not only ran out of money, but there was no like means to get an additional $100,000. It was impossible. Like we asked people, sure, I'll give you a couple grand. I'll give you a couple. Like there was no way. And the house wasn't churning enough revenue. It was like doing like 5K, 10K a month.
We were still going out of the house at the time.
Because our math was we can run out of the house, take the money, reinvest into this location. But but we underestimated the cost of this location. So we ended up having a lease we couldn't pay,
Yeah.
a build we couldn't finish,
Yeah.
and really no way of actually getting this thing open. And the craziest thing happens. Meanwhile, my dad is like working overtime to fund like paying the bills of the house.
Your dad was working at like,
Yeah.
he had a job.
He had a job. Yeah, he like managed his own like food business where he would like sell like CPG products to stores, but he would also like deliver it.
Yeah.
So he had a truck with a whole bunch of products that he would go out in all these grocery stores and restock them. And it was a tough job. And I remember like 3 months before we opened, like my brother gets a call. My dad's like, I don't know where I am.
What do you mean?
And he's like, I don't know where I am.
What does that mean? I don't
He's like
understand.
driving. He's like, I have no idea where I am.
You got lost.
Just doesn't know where he is. Now, my dad doesn't have GPS. Like, he doesn't need it. He knows everywhere.
Sorry, was your dad okay? Or you're making it sound like there was something,
So
like there was a medical condition.
at the time, no one knew what was going on. So we just get this call. We're like, dude, you know how to get anywhere with your eyes closed. So where are you? I don't know. So like at that point, like I see my brother go like white in the face. I ended up find my iPhone, find him like 40 minutes from the house. We drive there and he's only speaking Hebrew. And I'm like, that's really weird. So come, let me take you to the hospital. Go to the hospital, they do like CT scans, bunch of stuff. They say he's totally fine. You know, just tired, overworked. We go back home the next day, forgets his bank login. Now, my dad's the type of guy, doesn't forget bank logins.
Yeah.
So at that point, and not able to speak English. So I'm like, you know, calling my old hockey doctors. I'm like, is this normal? They're like, that's not normal. So I take him to a better hospital, Sunnybrook in Toronto. Mm-hmm. We're at the triage. She's like, all right, when's your birthday? I don't know when my birthday is. She looks at me. She's like,
Aaron, you're smiling through the story. Does this like is this end well? Like, is your dad okay?
no, he's okay now.
Okay.
But at the time, it was really, really insane.
Yeah, it's scary. Yeah.
And she looks at me and she's
How old
like,
was he at this time?
Early 50s. Yeah. 54.
Okay.
10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And she looks at me, she's like, how could you have taken him out of the hospital? And I'm like, they let him go. She's like, guys, this man had a stroke. Doesn't remember his birthday. And it was like, we all kind of go really white in our face. She immediately like just almost grabs him, takes him in, CT scans, same thing all over again. Day later, after we just did it, doctor comes in. She's like, you had a stroke. Like you're not gonna be able to drive anymore. Like half his body, he's lost so many different memories, evaporate overnight, forgets English. His job is to drive a truck though, and he can't drive anymore. Mm-hmm. So all within this whole saga of building a store, my dad no longer is able to work, and he's self-employed, so he's not getting a check.
How old's your oldest brother at this time?
Early 30s.
Okay.
So that was like the plan was like, hey, can he quit and go do the job?
What your dad was gonna do?
Yeah, because we're like, we need money. We can't pay the bills. We can't get kicked out of the house. We have this store that's not even finished built. Like, this is the worst possible thing that could have happened. And we realized he has like a really small life insurance policy that covers like losing your job to something like this. And he got exactly $100,000.
That's not life insurance. That's critical illness.
Critical illness, but a part of the life insurance policy was the critical illness.
Yeah.
And $100,000 is what we were short to finish the store. So we took the money that we got from my dad's critical illness policy,
Wow.
opened the store, which is exactly the amount we needed 3 months later. And then when nobody knows on opening day, not only do we not have enough money to refill the fridge, is we actually needed to pay the mortgage of the house. And all my brothers moved back home. So we were like, I remember in the basement, it was like the two of us, like people were sleeping all over the place, 5 grown-ass men. And there was really only one option. We had no choice but to sell the fridge. And when people say like, was it for the business? It was like, It was for the family.
Sorry, this was the business fridge you sold.
The business fridge. So we had these cold pressed juices.
Yeah.
So we took all our money, flipped it into fruit, juiced all night. We had no money for employees, so we had a 24-hour shift. So me and my one brother, we would juice at night. The other two would run the store, and then we would stay. So then, they would run the store during the day. Then they would juice at night. So it's like a 18-hour shift, and then we would run the store, then juice at night. So we were rotating 18-hour shifts. We had no employees for 6 months. I still have my toothbrush in the back of the store. I had a blow-up mattress. That's how.
Have you told the story in a public forum before?
Not really.
No.
I can't.
You can't?
I'm still only giving you 80%.
Okay.
That's how difficult it was.
It's wow. It's really surprising to me. It really is, because when meeting you, right? It's one thing, for me, I'm 50 years old and I have my immigrant story, and I remember as a child the struggles my family went through. You're in a much younger generation than I am. And meeting you, you would never guess that you went through such a, I don't want to say it look, it's a difficult experience, but you make more sense to me now, because prior to what you just told me, you were a bit of an anomaly to me.
Yeah.
Because you come, you on the surface, you look like, you're a successful entrepreneur. You sold your company for tens of millions of dollars. Yeah. But you make more sense to me now, because I have found through doing these interviews and just through my own life experience that the more difficult someone's early life is, or their experiences in life, they're proportionately more successful later on.
It's because it's the max pain.
And it is. And you are such living proof of that. I'm talking about people that I know that have been incarcerated to go on to do just deaths in families. And this is in that same vein. So you make more sense to me now. And and look, I commend you on it. And I also want to point something else out, because the whole premise of this podcast is to pull out information and knowledge from my guests to give people value, so they understand how to press on. So they understand that situations, no matter how dire they may think they are, there's so much on the other side of that situation actually forges a person to be. And so with you, it's evident. And I want to point out the power of family. And I think that's really what I'm taking from your story, is the fact that this happened in your family. You are going into this venture. I'm just kind of summarizing it for myself and for the audience, because I want them to understand. Your mom started doing the juices. You guys took it seriously. You put everything you have into it. You went to launch it. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And as a family, you guys stayed together and you pushed through that. And Aaron, I'm getting a little emotional, and I feel that you are too. And I hope that I can create a similar dynamic and a similar bond within my own family that your family has. I mean,
you said something really important. You said that I can create, and I mean, and you and Valeria are the people who are going to create it, right? There's so many times where I've either been on a podcast or done interviews or even consulted, and people say how do I recreate that? And I was just like, well, my parents lived it.
Yeah.
I watched it in real time. I watched my dad try to pay for hockey and debt, and, open up their retirement plans to pay for things. And they were always all in. I actually don't know. It's so really funny. Actually, there was a business opportunity that I turned down 3 or 4 months ago. And on the surface, it's an amazing business opportunity. Anyone would probably take it. And one of the investors called me and said, I heard you turned it down. Doesn't make any sense. We literally created this for you. And I said, I just not something I see myself being all in on. He's like, you don't have to be all in, dude. Just be 50, 80% in. I said, I don't know anything else.
Yeah.
I only know all in and momentum and grind and go through a wall. And I don't even know if that's the right way, but all I've ever known was...
It served you. I mean, right or wrong, it works for you.
Just to be insanely passionate about it, where it doesn't feel like work. It's fun, it's grind, it's pain, it's joy, it's everything. But I only know that because I watched it every day. I watched my parents grind. I watched them go through difficult situations. And that to me was always like, a lot of people say, don't tell me, just show me.
Yeah.
We watched in real time, like, no matter what, the values were always met. There was always dinner. There was always community. There was always family.
Yeah. Look, it's hard enough for an individual to be committed to a goal, but to have 7 people. No, but it's true.
It's
right?
true.
You have 7 people who didn't quit in a situation like that. Did any like in that, when that happened? I know the story ends well because obviously I went I went to that location. But like, at any point did the 7 of you? So you were 18 at the time, and your younger brother was how old?
14.
Okay, so like he's not a child
Still
anymore.
in
He's
high
a teenager,
school.
but he's like he knows what's going on. Like,
Yeah,
he understands. Did at any point, the 7 of you kind of sit down and look at each other and say, what are we gonna do? Like, was there any like moment where like there was talk about quitting or?
For sure.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, we all live in the same house too.
Right.
So
how did you push through that as a family?
At the end of the day, no matter how difficult things got, because they got difficult, so many different times.
Sure.
And another thing is that we're all such different ages. I'm 29 now. My brothers were 29 starting this, right? And I was 18, 19. I was still, in their eyes at least, a kid.
Yeah.
So there was also like how we communicated to each other was really different. We're all different stages. They were going girlfriends, goals of getting married. I'm like working out. Like my friends are like going to university. I'm opening up a juice shop. So we're all just such different stages, and we all kind of wanted different things. But no matter how difficult things got, there was one underlying premise was we need to take care of the house, the bills, the expenses, and my parents. Those were even till today. And, I've stepped away from the business. My brothers run it. Like, it's got 10 locations, all these employees, manufacturing facility. No matter what happens, that underlying premise has never changed. My parents are always in the picture. We're always taking care of them. Their stuff is always covered, no matter what.
How's your dad doing now?
He's doing much better.
Yeah,
he's doing, and when you talk to him about it, he's so grateful for it because it, got him out of that awful job. And in one insane way or another, it was the reason we were able to start this business. Like we're short $100K. I remember me and my brother sitting on the curb outside of Dufferin Center.
Yeah.
We were trying to peel off the stuff from the windows. Like we had no idea what we were doing. And I remember him like looking over to me and being like, man, we fucked up. Like we have no idea what we're doing. And literally within a week, my dad gets a stroke. We get a check for the amount of money that we're missing. It's like, so he always says he took one for the team, but it's like.
Would have been better if that didn't happen. And
exactly.
You would have figured out how to get that $100.
Yeah, one way or another, it would have came to us. Yeah.
I want to flip gears a little. I want to switch gears a little, and I want to talk about the store for a second. I haven't been in that store for, years. I haven't been there. I haven't lived there in a while. But I guess my question is like, I remember being in that store, and I remember that store being professional. Like it didn't look like a family mom and pop shop. It didn't look like that. I know what those look like.
Yeah.
It from day one looked like part of a corporate chain with 100 locations. So how did you guys have that experience? Like how were you able to do that? Like your parents are immigrants. There's no way that they had an insight into kind of the consumer mindset. How were they able to design that store in such a way? And sorry, before you answer, I apologize. I apologize because I remember it now. As I'm talking about it, I remember it now vividly. I remember like the presentation. I remember the merchandising. I remember kind of the in-store marketing, the point of sale, like stuff that people who are consumers who are not in that type of business or in any business, they don't understand how intentional it all is. But they leave the store with a certain feeling, which is because of those details. And those details were all covered in the store. Who had this knowledge on how to do that?
I don't think any of us had experience doing any of that. We were super fortunate. My family, like my mom's sister, started a chain called What a Bagel.
Oh, I know What a Bagel.
You know What a Bagel, right? And they had, at the time, at least like 10 or 14 locations.
Okay.
And
This is, sorry, your mom's?
my mom's sister.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she came to Canada before her.
Gotcha.
And my cousin, Danny, who was just like literally almost mentoring us
Amazing.
for like free, just like they wanted to see us succeed, would always like challenge us to like think differently. And, you know, we'd come with a design of what we wanted. He's like, you know, try again, like keep thinking deeper. And my mom, we actually sent my mom to Florida, to Miami, and there was a juice. I don't even know if it still exists. There was like a juice shop that he really liked. And he's like, go and get inspiration. And they had the wood, and they had this beautiful fridge, and they labeled the bottles. So we grabbed like bits and pieces of information from everywhere. But I wanted to say, like, you know, most people have board meetings once a quarter. We were having one every single night at the house. You know, we were at the table every night, you know, pulling up images and sketches, and we were challenging each other so much. Like every idea you had, you better have thought through it, because you were about to get hammered by 4 other people. And that forced us to really get creative. And we had like, you know, different types of point of sales. And we actually ended up coming up with a subscription package where you can buy a session of juices. And we did all of that just through like spending so much time together. Yeah.
Iteration. Yeah.
And by the time we got to the finished product, people were like you. They were like, where'd you guys come up with this? And it was like, you ever had like a board meeting every day for a year?
Of course.
So that's kind of what forged it.
Was there ever an issue of ego?
For sure. Yeah. You know, I like, me and my brothers would compete. You know, I would create a smoothie to be the best seller. My other brother would want to make a smoothie that was a better seller, and I'd make a juice. And then you know, there was so much internal. My mom would make like a soup. The soup ended up selling out every day. She would like, you know, tell everyone I made the soup, you know, like there was a lot of that.
That sounds like healthy competition.
It was healthy. It was fun. And it was like, you know, we were risky. Like we learned how to use this brand new, we call it the Lamborghini of juices, the day before opening.
Yeah.
Like that's not good business practice, you know, but we had no choice. And we sit there with the manual and we'd figure it all out. But there was never a moment where we didn't think we'd figure it out. There was never like, we opened up, you know, without a cash register and without a debit machine.
How did you?
So
How did you collect money?
it was only like a credit card chip thing from Square.
Oh, wow.
And if you didn't have a credit card, then you'd have to have exact change, or we'd like give you more stuff or something.
Wow.
You know, so like it wasn't that
Wild.
fluid.
Yeah.
But people like respected it. And you know, one thing about that store, you know, and people still talk about it till today, for the first year, you'd walk into that door, it was a family member greeting you.
Yeah.
It was me, my brothers, and my mom.
It was always your mom who greeted me.
Oh, because you probably went in the morning.
I did. I went.
She didn't let anyone else open the store but for her.
Yeah.
You know, that was her thing. She's like, I'm there at 7, I open it up.
Amazing.
And, you know, she probably sold you on a juice cleanse.
She did.
She was best salesperson in company history. And she would always say, she's like, what I do in 2 hours. Like her whole thing was, I'll sell the fridge before you wake up.
Wow.
That was her thing, you know, so she was competitive. So we had to like show up after her, and she was very, very tough in her standards of cleanliness, the way the fridge looked, the way the products were displayed.
Is your mom still at that store? No.
No, she's not at the store, but she's still like really heavily involved in like the new product curation, the way it's designed.
I'm assuming, I mean, you have 10 stores. I'm assuming you have like a corporate head office or something.
Yeah,
Is
so
that
we have
where she is?
we have a commissary that produces for all the stores every single day. So yeah, she spends a lot of her time there, like innovating recipes. But yeah, she still to today like really has such a high standard.
How many of your, sorry to interrupt you, how many of the 7 are working at Revitalize?
My 2 parents and my 2 brothers run it. And my other brother runs.
Brothers.
Yeah, my 2 older brothers run. So it's 4 of them that really spend every day in it.
Okay. And so I guess you're growing up in this environment. Did you end up going to college?
I went for 1 year because I got like an opportunity to play hockey.
Scholarship?
Yeah. And I remember doing a few classes, and probably my best coach of all time. I've been all the years. He didn't play me much. Usually players don't like the coach that doesn't play them. Yeah. It's a known thing, but I loved him. He didn't even play me, and I loved him. I thought he was so professional, so organized. And we won the championship that year. And he knew that we only spoke about business because he knew that's all I cared about. He didn't talk to me about hockey. He talked to me about business. And he came to me at the end of the year and he said, you're probably going to go all in on business, right? And I didn't like want to say yes because I felt bad. And I was like, oh, I'm thinking about it. But he knew, and I dropped out that year. Yeah, and actually I dropped out before the end of the year. I took a class. You know Schulich. Schulich is like one of the best business schools, I would say,
for everybody
right?
to know, Schulich is the business school at York University in Toronto, which is considered I think Schulich and Ivy are probably the two
Up there, yeah.
top business schools in Canada.
At least, yeah. And so I had the opportunity to take a crowdfunding class at Schulich.
Sorry, I want to interrupt you for a second. My son is here, and I just wanted to make a statement because I don't think my son gets the full context of this. So I introduced you to Aaron, right? Remember? No, he's shy right now. I just want you to know something. You're not shy? Okay. I want you to know something. Aaron is 29 years old. Aaron recently sold his company for $48 million. I'm telling you that because I want you to understand what's...
Is it the same story as David Sentner?
No, David Sentner...
Except for like
So David Sentner is David Sentner is one of the founders. Him and his wife founded the school that he goes to. And he's an exited entrepreneur as well. So they have it's a similar situation in terms that they both sold their companies. Are you listening, son?
Yeah.
The reason I'm telling you this, okay, about Aaron, because I want you to understand what's possible. Okay. Anyways, let's continue. Sorry, I just wanted to...
So I took this crowdfunding class because I was really interested in starting a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I was just enamored by the whole
So
thing.
you took a crowdfunding class?
At Schulich.
They had
It was
a
an elective.
crowdfunding
Yeah.
class. Wow.
Isn't that cool?
That's wild.
And it was the first year they had it, and I got the opportunity to get in. And I wasn't going to Schulich. I was going to regular like York.
Mm-hmm.
But because I was on the hockey team, I had access to all these like unique classes.
That's amazing.
So I'm like fired up. The class at Schulich is always double the price. So I remember I paid with my visa because I had no money. I put my visa in the machine at the dean's office, $4,500, accepted. I go to the class. First two classes are great, explaining all the different types of crowdfunding. And the fourth class, I go to the professor, and I was starting my own Kickstarter. And I forget his name, but I was like, professor, I'm so excited about this class. Of all my classes, this is the one I care about because not only am I super interested in crowdfunding, but I'm starting my own. So there's going to be an opportunity for me to get a little bit ahead here because like I'm in the process. Mm-hmm. So do you mind just like telling me some of the crowdfunding projects you've done? I'll study up on them and like maybe you and I will like do a little extra work together.
Did that help in the 1.5 million you raised on Kickstarter?
You know what he says to me? I never did a crowdfunding class.
Huh?
He's like, I never did a crowdfunding campaign.
Sorry, this is the guy who
The
was
professor.
teaching crowdfunding?
Yeah. He goes, I've never done one.
I feel like that's so indicative of formal education in universities, right? The people teaching it, and I don't want to shit on like, universities and stuff, but the people teaching it haven't actually done any of the shit that they're teaching.
He worked for an oil company. He's like, I just, I helped create this class. So I know a lot about it, but I've never done it. And in my head,
this is after you paid the $4,500,
I'm still
right?
feeling the pain, the $4,500 on my visa. So I walked directly back to the admissions office and I said, listen, I'm not going to call you a scam, but I have a feeling I got scammed.
This is at Schulich. This is a
really
guys,
good
this is like
school.
the Harvard of Canada.
Yeah, this is the best.
Fucking good for you, man. That's wild.
I'm like, I think I got scammed. And she's like, no, like he is very well versed. He created it, like he's in it. But I'm like, he never did it. And she's like, he doesn't. She's like, that's not a prerequisite for becoming a professor.
You're blowing. That's not a prerequisite for being a professor. So not actually. That just blows my mind.
Yeah,
sorry, who's teaching? Sorry, now I'm concerned.
Almost all the classes are like this.
No, but I'm concerned now. You know what I'm concerned about? Who's teaching doctors? Are the people teaching doctors at least?
I don't know, man. So I'm like, okay, put my card in, give me back the money. She's like, oh, the cutoff was last week. You missed the cutoff to get a refund.
I bet the story ends with you getting your money back.
So no, the story ends with me barging into the dean's office saying,
that,
yeah, I say, I'm like, I gave you $12,000 for a bunch of classes. I'm done. Like the hockey season's over already. I'm not playing hockey anymore. I'm done. I want all my money back. She gives me a number for like some OSAP or something to go get like a loan.
Yeah.
She's like, you're not getting anything back. I'm like, and in my head, I remember I called my friend who's now my co-founder at the time. And I was like, I got scammed. I'm done with school. And I dropped right out of school that day. Never went back. And then ended up starting my own full circle moment. We did our own Kickstarter. We did $1.5 million in that campaign,
Yes.
top 10 Canadian campaign of all time. And then I spoke at Schulich because they thought I was an alumni. So they brought me back as an alumni speaker. And halfway through my talk, I told them how I dropped out. And you should have seen the dean's face when they realized that I didn't actually graduate.
Thank you so much.
But yeah, there was a full circle moment for that. But yeah, I dropped out within my first year.
That's wild.
And it was at a different time. Now when kids are dropping out, it's kind of cool. Like, oh, what are you up to? What are you going to do? When I dropped out, it was like, you know, become a drug addict or a drug salesman or like a hot dog stand outside the Leaf game.
I love the way you call a drug dealer a drug salesman. You make it sound like such a noble profession.
Well, that's all. Those are the options. Like if you didn't have school and everyone kept saying, well, what's your plan B?
Yeah.
You know,
that was the way out. Like were your parents a big kind of proponent of formal education?
I called my dad. I said, hey, I just dropped out of school. He's like, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was it. Didn't care.
No, but which, by the way, I mean, that good for him and good for you, because that's a hard thing for an immigrant to do, because an immigrant's mentality is education is the way. Education, like, you know, and if I would have said to my parents didn't really have anything to do with me after the age of 18. Like they weren't really calling the shots. So that's different. But no, look, that's wild. So I want to talk about Hush. You know, so hold on, before we talk about Hush, you had the opportunity to continue. You already had a business at some form of scale, right? So you started Hush, but what? I think
I started when I was 23.
So about 6 years ago.
22, 23. Yeah, 6 years ago.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. So you went from zero, I read it was a $4,000 investment.
Yeah.
Which is less than the course you took, which is, right?
Right?
It's so ironic.
I had no
It's
money. Like that's like that credit card bill didn't get paid. I was accruing, 20%.
Okay.
Like
so here's the message. Here's the message. I'm talking to you watching this, okay? You can either pay $4,500 to take a course or you can start a business. I mean, yeah, like it's wild. Okay, so I want to understand your Revitasize is going. You guys are getting scale. I'm guessing you're out of the woods. You're doing all right. Things are moving along. You have multiple locations. You could have continued to iterate within your family's business.
correct.
Now, your family's business went on to do just fine without you.
Yep.
Why the pivot? Why going away and doing something completely different? I mean, and by the way, it wasn't like here's what's interesting about it. Okay, sorry, I have to give some more context.
Yeah.
Right now in the stuff that I do, so Valeria and I, we have Valeria's media company together, and our main business currently is Valeria's personal brand. And so we do a lot of brand deals, and we try different ways to monetize. One of the ways you and I are going to be talking about, we started talking about it, and we're going to have a fun conversation and see where that goes. But for me, when I start a new business now or anything I'm doing it based off of the kind of the goodwill and the assets and everything that we've built in our current business, where there's millions of followers and there's things that we can do. We're coming out with an academy, and our education won't be a waste of money. Okay,
Yeah.
but
because you guys are doing it.
well, because we're doing it.
Exactly.
Yes.
You see my
Yes.
point?
Now I understand.
Yeah, 'cause
yes,
you're doing it,
because we've
you know?
done it. That's the key.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so for me, I'm not jumping into something like, and I've thought about, okay, what can I do next? And even this, like I'm doing this podcast, and I'm like, well, I'm going to do a podcast because Valeria's going to promote it. There's a goodwill that I have with her audience.
Right.
We've come up with product lines. So you went and you had you had this juice concept, which was doing well, and you said, I'm not going to use what I have there. You had multiple locations, you had a client base, you had a brand. I'm starting something completely different in a completely different product category. So explain the logic behind this.
I always believe that people are a product of A, their environment, and B, what they're exposed to. And, as everyone just heard kind of my story, I wasn't exposed to a lot of money. Growing up, teachers, environment, circles, 100K a year was the goose egg. That's what you wanted. If you can get to 100K a year, you had everything.
Mine was 60.
Exactly.
So I'm from a couple of generations
and it
before.
grows, right?
Yeah.
So we built everything we built to get to that, because that was what we wanted, right? We can get to 100, we're gonna be set. everything you ever wanted
If
is on
you
the other
could
side.
make $100,000 a year.
Right. And, you know, my now business partner in Hush, I meet him at a bar, and we were both very similar. He dropped out. I dropped out. All my friends are at university and partying. I'm opening up stores at 6 a.m, grinding out throughout the night. And he was like traveling the world, teaching SEO, marketing, and he's also a really young guy. And a mutual friend of ours was like, you guys are both kind of freaks, you know, a little bit different. You guys should meet. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, maybe, so we meet at a bar at a mutual event. And, you know, I'm telling him about myself, you know, we had 80 employees and, you know, all this juices in stores. And like, he was like, wow, this is insane. And you're 21? I'm like, yeah. And like, you know, he was so excited about the idea. And I'm like, well, tell me about yourself. He's like, I have one employee, but I have this like really cool software company and we're crushing it. And I was like, okay, cool. And then he looks at me, he's like, well, you know, what do you make every month? And I was like,
that.
Do people ask this?
You know what it reminds me of? You know what it reminds me of? You know the scene in Wolf of Wall Street?
This is exactly the scene. And he goes, what do you make every month? And I was like, you know, this month, you know, I just opened up my own location by myself in Mississauga. Like I was just bullish. I was all in. I'm like, this month, man, I think I'm going to make $10,000. I was 21. That's 120 a year. I'm living.
You're there.
You know? And he looks at me and he's like, for the month or like the week, the day? I said, for the month. What do you mean? Like, this is amazing, dude.
I feel what's coming. Yeah.
And he goes, oh, okay. And it doesn't say much. Like, it's really kind of tight. Kind of like I could like watch his respect meter for me, like, you know, go right down. Like, and I was like, what are you making every month? Like, what's going on?
He was waiting for that question.
Yeah. And you know, very like humble guys,
Yeah.
you know, like, you know, 50, 60, 70. I was like, what? He's like, 50, 100. And I was like, what? You have one in, how? And we just kind of like, he's like, well, I'll show you one day. And we ended up just being friends, and he was teaching me so much about the internet. He was actually the reason I launched an e-commerce store for Revitasize, which ended up being our most profitable store because it's, you know, to grow a quick service restaurant, you make, let's say, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year on a location. You have to take all that money in order to grow. You got to dump it again in another spot and open another location. And then that's a whole risk. You got to grind your way up. And then if you're lucky, you do it again and again and again. And then that whole thing is like a house of cards because you have to bet on majority of them working out. In this business, he's like, you can just sell online to everyone out of one store. He's like, you take a location and you deliver. And I was like, what?
That's the e-commerce turning point for you.
Yeah.
That's what got you interested in e-commerce. Okay.
And the nicest guy ever, he helped me launch the Revitasize website. It quickly became, at the time, the highest performing virtual like location in the entire business. It expanded Revitasize massively, all thanks to him.
You were delivering within Toronto.
Yeah, we had a whole delivery routes.
Sorry, you were delivering directly to consumer.
Yeah.
But that
Juices.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
First of all, okay, that's a whole other distribution model. That's a completely different animal because it's one thing to, you know, you were mentioning your commissaries and, you know, to supply a single location that's going to distribute from the one location to, you know, hundreds of people in a single day, presumably, to now you're creating it for a mobile, like a truck. And now you're going and you have to keep them for like, so the logistics are different. The whole cash flow model is different. There's a tech layer. There's a lot of complexity in this. So how were you able to, like that? That's intriguing.
So I was the first and the only like juice press, like juice, cold pressed juice. We also have like soups, salads, wraps, like everything healthy food. The first to run Facebook ads with that. We were crushing.
Is this pre-Uber Eats?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Uber Eats was like, you know, overpriced at the time, slow, didn't service all the areas. It was like only downtown core at the time.
No, I know, but like they already had somewhat of an infrastructure where everybody knew, okay, I can go to this one hub and I can get everything. So you had to divert that traffic into a single brand and get them. Was it an app or is it a site?
It's just a website. Go online.
Was it mostly desktop usage?
Both. Like it wasn't an app. It was just a website. You can go on your phone as well. We also had a subscription model, and it was cheaper than Uber Eats. So if you liked Revita, it was cheaper. Uber Eats is always typically more expensive because they take 25 to 35% of every order. So most restaurants inflate their pricing on Uber Eats to make up for that margin.
Yeah.
So it was always cheaper, and it was guaranteed fresh. So we would juice throughout the day and then deliver at night. So literally your bottle of juice was made hours ago. As opposed to Uber Eats, you take from a day or 2 day old.
Yeah.
Which is still fresh, but
Yeah.
it wasn't as good. We had delivery routes, we had drivers, we were facilitating the whole.
So did you have to pitch that to your dude? This is like a much longer podcast than you know, because there's still a lot of stuff for you and I to cover. But
I wanted to do it, and my brothers kind of said, yeah, sure, like give it a try, see how it goes. And like we quickly went from like a couple orders to like literally doing 20, 30, 40 orders a night.
You were just arbitraging, not just, but you were arbitraging Facebook ads.
Crushing it.
And you were going in on, like, in Canada it's postal codes, not zip codes, but you were going in on a postal code basis. You were looking at the target demographics, and you would go into those areas. One that you felt the demographic was more likely, because you already had your demographic data from the stores. You kind of knew the demographic in terms of age, gender. You knew the socioeconomic data of who you're targeting. That's the zip code based on property values. So you were you doing this kind of hyper targeting that I'm talking about?
Not only was I doing that hyper targeting, but to your point about Uber Eats facilitates, at the time it was 1 kilometer, but now they do 5, or what people know is 3 miles around the store, right? At the time it was 1, right? That means that we only had 8 locations. So we still weren't able to service all of Toronto and the GTA. I now serviced all of Toronto. So Brampton, Mississauga, Scarborough, the beaches, anywhere that wouldn't be able to get access to us. It would also give us insight into where potential customers are, so we can open up in that location.
And you were building the brand through ads that you were arbitraging in real time. Like, you were making real time profitability. Like, you were
correct.
You're right. So I mean,
you see the model now. I get paid for profitable marketing.
Well, yes. I mean, so you're doing both branding and arbitrage simultaneously. Yeah, no, it's genius.
And growing the stores, because I would put in all the orders. Hey, here's a free smoothie if you go to your nearest location.
No, it's brilliant.
It's scaled rapidly.
But Aaron, how did you figure this out? I mean, it's one thing that your friend, this guy who became your founder, your co-founder, it's one thing that he set up like the tech stack for you. But where did you get the marketing understanding, and how did you know to run Facebook ads and do this type of thing? Oh, it came from him as well.
He just sat down and he's like, "Let's do it." And
Why did he do this for you? This wasn't his business. I'm assuming you didn't give him shares on Revive.
No, he's just a special guy.
Just a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a special guy. Type of guy that donates 10% of everything he makes. Actually, just really wanted to help, and it was doing so well, but not as well as I was still so enamored by him. And we went to Israel. I played in like one of the hockey games in Israel.
He's Israeli, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're in Israel, and he was traveling the world, like speaking on stages. He's only like 23, 24. You got to get him on the pod. I'll get him on the pod.
Get him on the pod, yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to come watch you play hockey. I never seen you play hockey. I'm going to fly. I think it was in New Zealand. I'm going to fly. I'm going to watch you play hockey. I'm like, you know what? Come. Ended up staying with me. We ended up extending the trip, and he booked like the most amazing Airbnb. And I'm like, this guy is unbelievable. And I'll never forget. I'll never ever forget. This was the Wolf of Wall Street moment. I wake up and I hear like someone talking, like on a Zoom call. This is like before Zoom calls, but he's talking to his computer, and all I hear is, "Welcome, guys. Thank you. Nice to see you, Eric. Nice to see you, Chris." And I'm like, I'm in my bed, and like picture like I'm sleeping there, and he's on his computer here. So I'm like looking at him, and I'm like, what are you? And he's like, shh, just like relax, like stay in bed. And he's like, welcome. He's like, nice. We got 1,500 of you. We got 2,000 of you. Wow. He's like, I'm gonna wait 2 more minutes. We'll get 3,000. I'm like, 3,000 of who? Of what? And I'm watching him do this incredible pitch, and it's seamless, and he's bringing people in, and like this guy's on like free Tel Aviv, Wi-Fi is free Tel Aviv Wi-Fi, like with a tank top on, with a laptop on his lap, talking to 3,000 people. Closes the computer, and I'm like, dude, what was that? He's like, oh, it was a webinar. I'm like, and what happens? He's like, well, why don't you hold my phone and see? And I just see Stripe notifications. 1,000, 5,000, 3,000, 5,000, 5,000, 3,000, 5,000, 5,000. And I'm like, and I'm working so hard selling juices and like cranking like blenders and like all that for $10. And my mind was explode. I watched someone make
selling a course.
He was teaching people how to sell. So he was like an SEO wizard, and he was teaching people how to basically start and scale their SEO business. And he had a SaaS.
Their SEO agency.
Yeah.
Getting other clients.
So he would teach you how to close the whole course, and then he had a software to get you leads. So it was
I'm understanding I'm understanding a massive contributing factor to Hush's success, because if he brought on the SEM, the SEO,
Right. And I looked at him in that moment, and I said, whatever you do next, I'm doing it with you. And he's like, yeah, sure. And then that was in July. Back and forth, so many different businesses ideas. I'm trying to get him to sell cricket protein. I'm like getting him involved in Amazon. I'm starting
Good protein moment. Yeah, I saw that on your.
I'm going all in. And he goes, he hits me up one day. He's like, dude, you know, that cricket protein was great. There's 10,000 people searching for it every single month. But Weighted Blankets has 300,000 people searching for it every month and only 2 people selling it. And he's like, you want to do it? And he's like, I've never done physical product. You know everything about physical products. He's like, but I'll do the marketing side of it. And we sat down and I was like, done. I ordered all the Weighted Blankets, iterated, improved the product, changed it. And we launched literally within 2 months. And kind of the rest, I was opening juice shops every single morning until 5 o'clock. He would run his SaaS business till 5 o'clock. We'd eat dinner together at 6:30.
Sorry, his SaaS.
Yeah.
It's not SaaS. He had an academy teaching people.
It was
how to do
both. So you had the SaaS on the back end, and then you had the sales course on the front end. So he would teach you how to start and scale your SEO business, but then his SaaS platform would get you leads.
Okay.
See what I mean? He gets you the leads and teach you how to sell them.
Yeah.
It's genius.
Crazy, yeah.
So that was our commitment. And then we made a commitment. We said, hey, if this business gets to a certain amount of revenue every month, he pointed at me. He's like, you got to lead the juices and I'll sell this SaaS. And we looked at each other. We said,
what do you mean he's going to sell his SaaS business?
he's going to sell the whole thing he had.
Okay.
And we said, okay. We shook hands. And within a year, we hit that goal. And, you know, my brothers kind of ran away with it. And we had to have that conversation. He sold.
Your brothers, they ran with the juice.
Yeah, I had to kind of say, hey, I got to focus on this. Because, like, you know, we were doing 7 p.m. till like 1 or 2 in the morning every day. And I would open the store at 6 a.m. So I was sleeping like 4 hours a night. And we did that for an entire year until the business hit.
Can I put you on the spot?
Yeah.
You can say no.
Well,
But let me.
Let's do it.
I have an ask.
Tell me. Yeah.
So I'm starting this academy. Right?
Yeah.
You and I have talked about it at length, and just so people know, like you were here with Hannah, and we were with Valeria. We were doing cold plunging and sauna, and I explained to you about this course, and you were very supportive, and I believe that you believe it's a good idea.
Yeah.
So I guess my formal ask is if you and your partner could spend 90 to 120 minutes with me, giving me tips on how I can better present my course and kind of all the funnels and everything to our existing audience.
Yeah.
I'll ask for that. I'll ask for your advice.
For sure.
Okay.
We'll be happy to look at it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Why not? I'm happy to
You
do
guys
so.
know how to do it. I mean, if you guys could do it with physical product, I can only imagine what you would do with a digital product, like what I'm.
Oh, it's way easier. You don't have to fulfill.
Well, you don't have to. That's
Well, you have to fulfill, but nothing physical. But
well, no, I have a lot of respect for it because Valeria and I, we had a clothing company that we started, you know, under the premise that we would sell to Valeria's audience, and we had to wind it down because like the physical product business,
super difficult.
I mean, manufacturing, iteration, all of that, logistics,
Never ends.
Never ends.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're into Hush now. You're a year into it. You guys had shaken hands the year prior. You made your commitments. You You step away. Your brothers start taking care of the revitalized like digital side of the business. Sorry, what was your partner's name?
Lior.
Lior. Right?
Yeah.
So Lior, he made good on his promise to sell his SaaS business.
Sold the business, and we went. We both lived in the same building at the time. He was on the 19th floor. I was on the 22nd. 16 Young. You might know the building right on Young and Lakeshore. And we rented a 1-bedroom on the 2nd floor.
That was your office.
And we made an office there. And we just went all in.
So I have questions about your business, about Hush specifically, and about e-commerce specifically.
Yeah, lovely.
I'm not gonna not take advantage of this time I have with you by not asking you about e-commerce. So give me a second here. My Face ID is not working. Okay, so you've already answered a lot of the questions in terms of the origin. I was gonna say why e-commerce specifically. I understand now the entire kind of story. I read that you started Hush with no money.
Correct.
So I guess my question is, you had access to capital. It seems like you had access to capital, whether it was from your family or in Revitalize. Lior had access to capital.
Yeah. So, well, I didn't because the one thing with Revita that kind of mentioned before is that we were in growing mode. So like we didn't take any salaries. So my rent was like $1,500 a month, and we paid each other like $2,500 or whatever.
Right.
Like the non-taxable amount was, because we didn't want to pay. We wanted to be below that threshold. And Lior was like when we started going. So what happened was the first $4,000 actually Lior put up, and that was like to get us off the ground. And we went into pre-order right away. And the $4,000 was...
Sorry, just to be clear, when you say pre-order, that means you didn't actually have product.
I had zero product.
Right.
I couldn't afford it.
Right. So you created the material, you created the photography.
Right.
Did you run it on Shopify?
We ran it on Shopify. One landing page. We built it in one night.
So you guys are... And then where was the traffic coming from?
And then Leo calls his buddy who was like running Google ads. Because again, we had no money, so we can't pay an agency.
Right.
And we
you can't pay Google.
We can't, right. So then that's where, actually it was $2,000, sorry, for the website, because we paid like a little bit of design, like a couple apps, very, very small.
Yeah.
And then we put $2,000 into, we said, we're going to take $2,000, we're going to put it into Google ads.
Yeah.
Because we know there's 300,000 people searching a month for weighted blankets. Let's bid and see if we can sell one. You know?
Sorry.
And if we can't sell one, then whatever. Leor's like, I told Leor, I said, listen, I'll pay you back $2,000. You know? Like, we'll lose $2,000 each. Because I knew I can do that. Just I needed like 2 months, or 3 months. And he's like, done. We put, the next day, we launched Google Ads. And I'll never forget.
You're talking about AdWords?
AdWords,
Not
yeah. So
display.
you type in on Google weighted blankets. Right. We want it to be there.
That sounds like a very expensive keyword.
Not at the time. There's only 2 competitors. So, there's 3 spots. Now there's Google Shopping. At the time, there wasn't. So it was just 3 spots, 1, 2, 3. We bid on the second spot. And before you know it, I remember we were sitting there and I got that Shopify cha-ching. And
within like moments?
Like within that day, the first day.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, we got a cha-ching. I was freaking out. I didn't ever heard that sound before. Yeah.
How long did you tell them it would take for them to get their product?
We said, so it was funny enough, the first order we didn't have pre-order because I had a sample. So I'm like, we're going to ship the sample out. And I still have a picture of it, and we wrote them a card. And they actually ended up returning it, funny enough, but it was still a sale at the time. And we made a sale, and we look at each other, and we're like, oh my God, like we're rich. Like it's done. And it was a profitable sale. It cost us $20 for the $300 blanket, so there was huge margin.
Huge.
And so we reinvested it.
There was still the cost of goods, though.
Yeah, but like it was still like a 3 times the return. It was an incredible margin on your first sale, right? With like a website we Frankensteined.
Yeah.
It's all really good signs.
Yeah.
The next day, 3 sales. And I remember looking at Leo, I've got a video of it, and I'll even send it to you. Maybe you can run in the B-roll. I look at him, I'm on the couch, and I'm like, dude, we make 3 sales. Next stop, 30. We're going to 10X. And he's just like, yeah. He's like on the computer. And next day, 5 sales, 10 sales, 20 sales.
But again, you didn't have inventory.
We had 0 inventory.
So what time frame were you promising the clients?
So at that point, we're like, we better buy inventory because we're getting all these sales. And we started getting like enough money coming in because like these are all like pure cash, right? Because we didn't spend anything yet. And we put in our first PO, and we called everyone. We said, hey, it's going to be 2 months. It ended up being 3, but we thought it would be 2. We never ordered from China before. We had no idea what was going on. We just had 1 sample. And people were kind enough. They waited. Some people canceled. But it was like head down every single night. Like if you abandoned a cart on Hush, or at the time it was hushblankets.ca. We bought hush.ca later. But I would call you. Like you couldn't get... Our conversion rate was insane. I was calling people so many times. Their husband would call me back and say, whoever you are, if you call my wife one more time, I'm going to find you. That's how serious it was. We didn't let anything go to waste, to the point where we were able to snowball this flywheel, and it was super profitable, where we didn't have to put much more money in, and we were able to then buy more inventory. And we were always on pre-order. Hush has been on pre-order for 5 years straight. Like the sheets that you just got here.
Yeah.
People waited we launched a charcoal version. They waited 6 months. You ever thought of anybody waiting for 6 months for a pair of sheets? 40 places in the back of your head you can go and get sheets right now. Like today, literally before you eat lunch.
I could literally get it on Amazon. It'll be delivered today.
Yeah, you can probably get it on your phone. Yeah, exactly. That's the type of brand we were building. There was hype, there was energy behind it, And we were so passionate that the people on the other side felt it and they were willing to wait. And that's how we were able to cash flow it just from pre-orders.
Did you run into obstacles at any point?
Tremendous amount. We oversold I never sold anything online. I didn't understand what Christmas is really. Like in terms of like retail sales, it's like the mecca of the year.
Yes.
I didn't know that. So we ordered like 500 blankets our first Christmas. I remember November 25th or 26th was our first Black Friday. We sold all 500 before noon.
Yeah.
With 0 blankets coming in. And we called our supplier and he's like, I'll get it to you for Christmas. Don't worry. It's coming for Christmas. We're like, all right, give us 5,000 or 10,000. It was 10,000 blankets. We sold 8,000 of those 10. Little did we know is not to believe when a supplier says he's going to get to you with something on time. We ended up not delivering 8,000 Christmas gifts. Now, our blankets are $329. It was the same year that the PS4 came out, or the PS4 came out. And for a lot of people, this was the main gift underneath the tree. It was a $329 gift. And we disappointed 8,000 customers. And we got, an onslaught of reviews. We had to refund over $150,000. It was a really, really horrible time for us. But, we like to say we've learned from it. We changed things. We always try to be ahead. But the business grew so fast, it was impossible for us to predict.
You did a wild thing. And you did something where after I read about that you did that, I've already sent emails to, no, I'm not kidding. You probably know what I'm talking about. I've already sent emails to kind of the, like our CEO who runs Valera Inc. And I said to her, I want to do this. She hasn't replied to me yet, but she's probably going to reply saying you're a maniac. And what you did was to your clients, to your consumer, like these are your retail customers. I'm going to do this with my B2B clients, with marketing executives at the marketing executives at the companies that do brand deals with us. You did this with consumers. You sent out a Calendly link inviting people and asking people to speak with you so you could understand what's going on with the product, like their perception or their opinion on your product. What was the genesis of this idea? Why'd you do that?
It came actually from the juice business. So, I said earlier in our conversation that like my brothers, my family, we would compete for who has the best smoothie, the best, juice. But we made a rule and we said, hey, a smoothie, a recipe, a soup, a juice doesn't go for sale unless the customers love it, rave for it. So what we would do is I would make a smoothie. I'd pour it into a bunch of little cups. I'd stand at the front door. I'd be like, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? It's pretty good. Needs a little more cinnamon. It's pretty good. A little too much of this, a little too much of that. And we'd iterate. And eventually I'd get to one where I'm like, oh my God, give me that. Whatever I was going to order, don't ignore that. Give me that. I want that. And then we'd add it to the menu. And we knew it would sell. And we did that with, my mom would sit there with a hot thing of soup and pour people little cups of soup until no, not enough salt, not enough this. And so that was how we did it because we didn't have money. We're not going to add things to the menu that aren't going to sell. It was a waste of space. So that's how I learned how to innovate product, was by real-time feedback.
Yeah.
Now with e-commerce it's tough because you have to ship out product. You're not going to their home. You're not instant, like in your eyes, give me the honest truth. But it was something that we adopted literally since day one. And I remember very vividly when we launched the pillow, we sold 3,000 pillows in just under 72 hours. And I went on LinkedIn like everybody does. And I said, we sold 3,000 pillows in 72 hours. This pillow is unbelievable. And everyone's like, well, what was the trick? What was the hack? What was the marketing? What was the ad? What was the email? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I knew we were going to sell 3,000 pillows.
How?
To answer that, it's super simple. I spent 3 months, me, my co-founder, some people from our team, calling, sending out emails with a Calendly link to book five. I booked 5-minute calls. I always knew it would be 10, but I always booked 5-minute calls and saying, hey, the co-founder of the business, the executive, the director of the business wants 5 minutes with you. I want to talk to you about some product I'm working on. I want your insight. Every single person that got the link booked, even to the point where I had to it ended up being months. Every person I called, the second I was like, hey, is Aaron the co-founder of Hush? They thought it was a prank. They're like, no way. You're calling me? I spent tens of thousands with furniture company. One lady told me she paid $1.5 million to furnish her mansion in King City, as you know, those big, really big houses. She goes, they didn't even give me an email to ask me how the stuff's holding up. Spent $1.5 million with them. My whole house is with that brand. And you can assume which brand it is, right? Yeah. And she couldn't believe it. And I called her and she spent $300 on a blanket. And I'm like, hey, like, I noticed you bought a blanket. Like, I'm making a pillow. I know you sleep with a pillow. I just know it's not mine because I don't sell one. But if I were to create a pillow that was perfect for you, what would it have to have? And then what would you pay for it? It's very simple. Oh, it's got to be big. It's got to be small. It's got to feel like a hotel pillow. It's got to be cooling. You know, it's got to have naturally antibacterial. You know, I really like when there's a zipper because I like to wash it. Like, you start pulling together all this information. 3 weeks later, I said, hey guys, remember what you said? I think I've made it. Check out this prototype. It's got all these features. What do you think? Well, Aaron, I don't like the color. I know my original pillow was black because Hush is very like black and white. I made it black. They're like, oh, well, it's going to come through the sheets. I'd like for it to be white. Maybe figure out a way to put black on it. Okay, fine. The piping. Yeah. Came back, sent them another image. What do you think now? Awesome. Wonder what it feels like. Okay, here, send them videos of like cushion. What do you guys think now? Really like it. What would you pay for this? Pay about $140, 290. You get all these.
How are you documenting this? So did you have like, were you putting this into spreadsheet where at the end, I mean, it's one thing to get kind of the qualitative analysis and to get a general opinion, but you must have crunched this data to say this percentage of people want this percentage of people want that.
Honestly, in a Google sheet. You know? Yeah, we just started putting in the data and you would see like it would formulate your averages. And then when we launched, I would reach back out to those people and I would say, hey, we're ready to go. Let me know if you're going to be one of the people that want first access and buy this.
Turn them into buyers.
Yeah. Like, let me know if you want first access.
On the top of that funnel, though, why do you think you had such a high response rate of people? Because this wasn't like they had to proactively click that Calendly link and pick their time. So it's not like you, like, why do you think they wanted to give you?
So our brand specifically had a face to it. Like, we were like in a lot of the marketing. We were on Dragon's Den. Like, we're very out there. Our Kickstarter was us in the video.
You think it was because they wanted to talk to you?
Yeah.
Because they had seen your personal brand.
And people get the magic in all of our connections are through the storytelling. And when people know why we started, when people know that, you know, since the very first day, we donate 10% of everything.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a magic. You want to kind of be a part of the story. Yeah. And I have this, there's a coffee shop, actually you might even know it. It's in Yorkville. I go there, I get a coffee every day, and then I go to my office. It's like the same route.
Which one?
You know, the Zaza?
I know it. Yeah.
You know Zaza,
well, I know the guy. He's a very animated Italian guy.
Italian guy, right? Amazing coffee,
yeah.
You know? But then I would go and I would get an avocado toast from whatever that kitchen is. But it was extra 15 minutes in my day. So I went to him at the Zaza. I said, listen, if you put avocado toast on your menu, first of all, I'm going to pay you, but you're going to save me time. Yeah. You know, he's very, yeah. Buy the coffee, you know? Much to my surprise, 2 weeks later, I get there. I see avocado toast on the menu. I go to him. I'm like, I'll take one. Like, not even for free, nothing. Just like he made me it. I ate it. It was the worst avocado toast I've ever had. You know, it was really, really bad.
Yeah.
But I bought it. And the next day I bought it again. It was still really, really bad. And then on the weekend, I told my friends, I'm like, yo, we got to go to Zaza. We got to get a coffee. And you guys all need to buy the avocado toast.
Why did you want them all to buy the avocado toast?
And that's when my friend goes. He goes, Aaron, what's with this? It's a horrible avocado toast. I said, you know, but like, I had to say, like, he did this. I told him to do this and he did it. I asked for it. They didn't even give it to me for free. I asked for it. He did it. And now I feel connected. Like, I only have coffee at Zaza. And all my customers, you know, many of them responded with the same feedback. If you told me, Aaron, make the pillow blue, like really casually, and in 2 months from now, I send you a picture and say, hey man, it just launched. Look at this blue pillow. How are you going to feel? Yeah. It's no stock, no equity. You're going to pay full price, but you feel connected to it. And people miss that magic in their product. People go and get feedback from people who are not their customers. I know it costs me on average about $100 to get a customer. It costs me about $30 to $40 to get someone to click in to my funnel. So abandon a cart, give me some sort of information. Most people go to these third-party groups and call random people for information on how to better service their customers. but you have the customer already. Speak to them.
Seems so obvious.
It's this most simplest thing. Like, hey, if I were to make your life better, and you know what we did when we launched our mattress, we did the same thing. We launched a mattress in, I think it was 6 years, officially 6 or 7 years after Casper. And we all know the story of Casper.
Yeah.
So we weren't new in this mattress in a box space.
Yeah.
And we were in the middle of getting acquired by a mattress company. So it was even more risky to launch a mattress. And everyone thought, told us, don't do it. All the smartest people, don't do it. Huge risk, massive product, heavy returns. You have no idea what you're doing. This is a space that's been around for over 100 years. Prove it. Simmons is a 100-year-old successful mattress company. Stay away. Stick with the blankets. Stick with the sheets. And we're like, you guys don't understand something. Like, we've spoken to 7,000 customers on the phone saying, I'm making a bet. I know you sleep on one that's not ours. If I were to make it, what do you want? Much to our surprise, nobody likes memory foam because eventually it canoes. Much to our surprise, people care about having zoned, like having a really posturized support, because what happens is your core is heavy and you get like a U shape in the front and on the side, right? So like the middle between you and your partner is like this. You're rolling away from each other. Everyone complains about that. And I was like, okay, if I can solve that, what would you pay? If I can solve that, what would you pay? And we'd update people throughout the whole process. We got screwed by a manufacturer 2 months before launching. We shared that with them. We're like, guys,
Oh, wow.
it's an amazing video. Yeah. I recorded the call of the manufacturer calling me and saying, competitors have been hearing about what we're up to. And they told me if I work with you that they're going to pull the business away. People were scared. We were like anomalies. And I recorded that, shared it with the community and said, guys, like, we're going to have to push back launch. Like, we just lost our manufacturer. And then I shared with them a different manufacturer who wanted to take a chance on us. So they were so invested in building this product. When we launched, we did a password protected page to everyone that had any part of the journey. It was like 4,500 people. We gave them an amazing deal. We said, hey, buy the mattress. We'll give you the pillows. We'll give you everything else for free. Just because you guys helped us. This was insane. We did $1.5 million in the launch of that mattress. Like, I think it might have been a week or 2 weeks. And it actually expedited our acquisition because no one believed that we would actually, by the way, 0 reviews. It was a $1,900 mattress and there's nowhere you can try it. Think about like how emotionally invested you need to be to spend $2,000 on something you never even felt. There's a picture on a screen. And most beds online sell for sub 1,000. So,
okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm really excited about this strategy because I'll tell you why, because it seems, I'll put it this way. I feel like an idiot because I've been in business for 30 years for not doing this before 25 years, for not doing this because it's so obvious. And I think if I haven't been doing it, I think a lot of people aren't doing it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm not only going to reach out to the brands where the decision makers because those are our transactions. Those are the equivalent, So I'm going to reach out to them and I'm going to send out a Calendly link and I'm going to invite them all to talk to me directly because they know kind of my integration in Valeria's life and story and the business. And I'm also going to send out, this is going to be a little tough. I'm going to send out a Calendly link to a relatively small cohort of her audience to talk to me, to tell me what kind of content they want to see. That's what I'm going to do. You've inspired me to do that.
And you know what the craziest thing is? People do it, but in a lazy way, right? So, in the content world, people will create like a little box. What do you want to see from me more? And then they'll have a million messages and they'll like choose the one that they wanted to do anyways, right?
Right.
It's so powerful. Even if you get on a call with like a brand or an agency that you guys work with that forget the content of what you guys speak about. Just the fact that you spend 10 minutes with them.
Absolutely.
Even if you talked about bagels, creates a connection.
Yes.
And that connection is what drives everything else.
But when you talk about it, it's genius. It's not a tactic. It really is not a tactic. It's a genuine connection with the consumer. It's a win-win because you are getting intelligence from the consumer, exactly what they want, and they in turn are getting the product that they need based on their request of you. So look, I know to me, I'm dumbfounded because it's in my mind, it's so obvious. And I feel like an idiot for not doing it up until now.
And what everyone's going to say when they're watching this, because, I speak on stages and I say this exact same story and they say the exact same question. They say, how is it scalable, right? How many calls can you do? And what people don't understand is not everything in your business needs to be scalable.
Right.
Right. Like you can, like I still do calls.
Yeah.
Right. I do 3 to 10 calls a month, depending on the month. We have 1 million customers. I'm not speaking to everybody, but that flywheel of staying really in touch and really close with people, make sure that I never get too far away from the people who are actually, supporting this business.
And I wanna kind of reconnect this to the beginning of this segment of the interview, where this came from your mom standing with the little shot glasses of different or used.
And she knows she's still
And she still does it.
She's still like, if she makes a recipe, she'll take it from the kitchen, the common room. She'll drive to the nearest store. She'll sit there and, what do you think? It needs a little more of this. Needs a little more of that. Okay, what do you think? And she's strategic, right? She'll give it to different customers because she knows, like, okay, I'll give it to one to the older lady. I'll give one to the young girl that's coming in. I'll give one to the gentleman that is in a rush always. Just, hey, would you buy it? No, I wouldn't buy it. Not for me. It's good though, but I wouldn't buy it. Okay, cool. And you start to get instant feedback, and I still don't understand. One lady I called, I'll never forget this. I called her about the mattress. It was a 5-minute call. We spoke for an hour. And at the end of the call, she was telling me that she does this for Ford.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, I'm so amazed by the fact that you're calling me. She's like, this is my job for Ford. I'm like, Ford does this? She's like, since day one, Ford is calling customers, asking them about new innovative products. Ford was, where to put the USB to your phone in the car was something that she said they spent a year calling customers on. What is the best place for us to put this?
I want to ask you something. I understand. I mean, we've talked now thoroughly about community building, creating this feedback loop. Obviously, it's essential for business. What's your take on branding?
On branding?
Yeah, just branding overall. I mean, what we just talked about is a form of branding, and I'll tell you why. Because in our business, we find this. Sometimes we have this disconnect when an advertiser is, they'll, let's say, contact us and they'll make a statement and they'll say, well, listen, for every dollar I spend, I need to make $1.30. And then at that point, I'm like, we're not the correct platform for you.
Yeah.
Because we do branding. We help you with your storytelling. We help with, aligning your brand, whatever your product or service is, with Valeria's personal brand. If you don't see value in that, it's not an arbitrage. So there's arbitrage. You were doing arbitrage, with Revitasize simultaneously with brand marketing. But in general, it's rare that a business you can do both, run profitable ads in real time and get the marketing benefit from it. But what is your take on branding overall when it comes to business and developing businesses in the context of the e-commerce? Because now you work with founders. You incubate companies. You bring you have these groups that you're forming.
Yep.
So you're going much deeper into e-commerce. From your own career, with your own career. Talk to me about kind of branding versus, performance marketing and arbitrage.
Branding is the bubble that you create around all of the data analysis, the actual marketing hacks, the email. Branding actually is the tide. And when you don't have it, it's like the tide goes out.
The tide, yeah.
Yeah. And when you don't have branding and momentum, the tide goes out and your business is stuck.
Yeah.
And you're trying all these heavy lifting things, unique ads and hacks and all these arbitrages, and you're getting into this like really lower my price, go 50% off, because it's tough to move the boat in a low tide when you're stuck on the rocks. But when you have a really high quality brand,
that's a great analogy.
Yeah. And then the tide comes back in, and you start to get momentum. Yeah. And now the boat is easy to move around. You can go wherever you want. And even if you go the wrong way, you can turn and go back, because the branding gives you a moat. And what it does from a money perspective is it lowers your CPMs. Yes. It lowers your return rate. It increases your retention.
It's cost per thousand.
Or even CPA, which is the cost per acquisition to acquire a new customer. It lowers all of your costs. It actually then makes, if you have staff and you have employees, it makes their life easier, which increases their happiness, which makes them feel really important.
Yes.
The whole flywheel benefits when you have a brand that's providing you the tide, the momentum. And when people don't focus on their brand over a longer period of time, because on day one, nobody cares about your brand. And on day maybe 100, still nobody cares about your brand. But on day 5,000, everything you invested in your brand pays off. And most people don't have the patience to wait that period of time
With Hush, did you do brand advertising?
nonstop. So I bought during the pandemic when nobody was advertising in hockey arenas because nobody was in hockey arenas. I got a call from the Montreal Canadiens and they're like, "Hey, do you want to sponsor the seats?" They used to cover the seats. They didn't know. Like the guy gave us an incredible deal. They were in last place at the time, so we got it for 1/10 of the price. And we bought the domain hush.ca. So all I put was hush.ca on there. No one even knew what that was.
Right.
But every time the puck would go behind Carey Price, we'd see like the traffic go up. It was really it was that crazy. And they ended up going to the finals that year during the pandemic. So we did like stuff like that. I wrapped every streetcar in Toronto with blankets, like literally wrapped them, looked like it was a blanket on them. I bought bus stops. We were all in on building the brand because when we knew what happened was copycats would come about.
Yeah.
And when we started, I said there was only 2 or 3 weighted blanket sellers. As of now, and also as of a year or two ago, there's 73,000 active sellers that list a weighted blanket. That's a huge amount of competitors.
Yeah.
And you know what everyone's trying to do? Lower the price. You can go to Target right now.
Competing on price, yeah.
You go to Target and buy a weighted blanket for sub $50.
How do you, as an advertiser, and how would you advise whether they're any business, not just e-commerce, how do you advise them? How do they reconcile spend on market on? You know you're smiling because you know where I'm going with this. How do you reconcile the spend on brand advertising when you can't? How do you measure goodwill? The goodwill that it creates, because that's at the end of the day, brand advertising. It's what you're getting at your output is goodwill,
right?
Which you can't measure. Yeah. So, and I'm asking this selfishly because
you're trying
even for our advertisers, that's what we're giving them. We're giving them the fact that if Valeria makes a video wearing an article of clothing and it gets 1 million views, they're not tracking conversion, and rightfully so. They shouldn't really be looking at conversion. But how do you measure goodwill, and how do you reconcile the expense when you can't have data behind?
So there's 2 answers, right? So one is the technical answer, which is how can I properly attribute this form of media spend back to some form of ROI?
Yes.
It's really what the question is.
Absolutely.
Right? And the easier that you can, or in general, people can do that, the more justifiable the expense is. So that is if you have a really experienced marketing professional on your team, which a lot of these brands should or do have, you should not be looking at every dollar that goes out with some sort of return that you deem your business needs. What should actually be happening is there should be an overarching MER, which is the marketing efficiency ratio. The overall amount of money that we're spending, what is our revenue in return? And within your MER, let's just say $1 million. Okay, let's just say that's your spend for the month. You're going to spend $1 million. It can be any number. What percentage am I allocating to Meta ads, TikTok ads, Google ads, brand partnerships, billboards, influencer marketing, all of them, newsletters, so many different things, events. A lot of companies are doing like these events, these dinners, right? There's so many different forms of marketing. The team needs to come together and say, this is how we're cutting up our bucket. And the issue that what happens is people don't cut the bucket. They just have this bucket. And then they say, all right, team, take this $1 million and make me 3, 4, 5, whatever the number is. So then every initiative is built on that dollar gets to give me 4. That dollar has to give me 4. But in some cases, the way we look at it, which is why it's called MER, the total efficiency ratio of the bucket is sometimes I'm going to have things in that bucket that get me 10. And then some things are going to get me half of 1. But as a whole, the bucket is growing.
Yeah.
And there's an efficiency ratio that I'm comfortable with. So I know I sponsored the Habs. On the very first day, it was the worst investment ever because I made no money and they're last place. They suck. But then they go to the finals. That's all free. They're like, and the NHL decides to make Canada play Canada because during COVID, make US play US. So now I'm like only getting Canadian views. The Leafs, they take the Leafs to game 7 and win. I could never have predicted that. And then all of a sudden, all my other stuff starts overperforming.
Yeah.
And everyone gets excited. But as
on the stuff you can measure, like the CPA,
right,
CPM.
all of a sudden my ads team is crushing
course,
it, and
of
everyone's
course, yeah.
everyone's crushing it.
Yeah.
But that was a waste of money when I spent 150 grand on something that gets me unattributable revenue. But as a whole, our marketing bucket, again, the tide was lifting. So that's like, you need to have an analytical view to it. And the team needs to go in and say, as a whole, what is our return? And you need to push and pull. And a lot of people forget really marketing basics. Your top of funnel, your bottom of funnel. And without a brand, your top of funnel is going to be very weak.
Very.
And everyone else, so like your...
Well, then all the data gets, it goes from top of funnel down. All the data is going to be weak.
And I view it like a wet towel.
A wet towel. I'd love to hear the wet towel analogy.
So the top of funnel is the water that goes on to the funnel is the towel.
Okay.
Top of funnel is the water. And if you keep pouring water on the towel, you guys all know a wet towel, it's just constantly yielding out water, right? And the bottom of the funnel, the team, this is usually the team usually focuses bottom of the funnel because that's like the most attributable revenue. They're constantly ringing it out.
About conversion.
Yeah. Right. Because that's, your email guy is taking revenue, your website guy is taking revenue, your CRO, your whole team their job is to wring out the towel. That's what everyone does. And then they say, look, I did this and I made this. I did this and I made this. No one wants to sit at the top because that's unattributable revenue. The water's dropping at the bottom. And your top of funnel, your influencer marketing, your billboards, your TV campaigns, that's the water. And the less you put on the top, the harder you need to wring out the bottom to get a drop. And eventually, we've all done this with a towel that has nothing left, it just gets stuck.
Yeah.
And then everyone dies.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and,
no, I get it.
And then everyone panics. There's nothing left and you're just wringing it out.
How do you, okay, so here, I have another question for you. And again, these are all pretty selfish questions. How do you understand if the rate that you're paying for branding for this top of funnel kind of branding expense, how do you know it's the correct thing? Because unlike an AdWord bid where you see who's bidding and the bids are what the bids are and the pay-per-click is what it is, when someone comes to you, like when we go to a client, I keep bringing this back to me because this is my current kind of frame of reference. But when we go to when somebody calls us and say, hey, we want a reel, and we say, well, this is how much it is for Valeria's reel. Yeah. How do they know if it's a good, how do they know if it's correct?
You're going to hate this answer.
Wow. It is what it is.
You're going to hate it, but it's the truth. Yeah. At least from what I know. What brands do is probably what the creators do. The second I get a price from someone, the first thing I do is send it to the 4 people they just worked with and say, am I getting scammed? Yes or no? And you would be surprised how many times I find influencers are inconsistent in their pricing.
So I have a comment on that. And this actually, I'll be teaching this in our academy. And this is from day one, what did I do? I created a media kit with standardized pricing.
This is what we charge.
And that's it. Here's our pricing, because I find that what happens is, as a brand, when you contact, when we're talking about influencers, when you contact an influencer and say, hey, how much for a reel? Like, how much to do a reel? And they respond with an email saying, this is how much it is for a reel. I don't think that's a good experience for the advertiser, because they're looking at it and they're saying to themselves, well, because I'm so-and-so advertiser and I have this profile, if I'm like a high-end brand, like not even a high-end brand, like a well-known brand, so they're charging me based on what the influencer is quoting me based on what they think I can pay.
Bigger brand must have more money.
Whereas
pay me more.
Once you put it in a PDF, it's in a PDF, and I don't change the prices. I show it to people and say, this is what our prices are. I feel that helps.
It helps. The consistency is so important. And also there's one thing, again, that creators do, and I pay attention to it very, very closely, is they act different when they want the product, right? So if it's a product where, perhaps they're buying it already, there's a lot of times where like we get an email from an influencer saying, hey, I've already bought your stuff and I'm loving it and I just love it so much. I'd love to make content with it now that I have it. I normally charge this, but this is what I'm going to charge you. I had actually happened to me 2 days ago. I had a creator my team reached out to. They got hit back with a whatever number. And I'm like, oh, I know that creator. My buddy let me just call my buddy. I sent to my buddy, what'd you pay? He's like, oh, they really wanted the product. It was free. I gave the product. I didn't even give them the product. I loaned the product for 30 days and he gave me lifetime this. And it's just an incredible deal. And not only is it annoying, because I'm like, well, why would you, why? You don't like my brand? Like, you don't like my product, you know? And then they go, oh, things have changed. So the inconsistency is really, really difficult.
You're not dealing with businesses, right? You're dealing with individuals.
Yeah. But meta, like for example, if you want to buy a billboard, let's just say it's a billboard there.
Yeah.
We both email them for a billboard. We're getting the same price.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter who I am.
Because you're dealing with a company, an actual company who,
Right.
you know what I mean? Whereas when you're calling an influencer with X amount of millions of followers, that's not a company typically. In our case, it's a company. We're an 18-person organization and we have standardized pricing. But for the most part, when you're contacting, especially like maybe like an influencer in like the tens of thousands of followers or hundreds of thousands, it's them and an assistant. So you can't expect consistency from a person who's a creative by trade and kind of moonlighting as a business person to broker their own deals.
So the energy then becomes in the space.
It's negative.
It's not only negative, but that I could get a better deal if I negotiate.
Right.
So now our teams are in charge of negotiating.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what you send me now, we're negotiating. Right? And depending if they're having a good month, a bad month,
Of course.
if they like the product. So that makes it really like, so what do we determine? You know, for us, again, up until a certain point, you know, sub 100,000 followers, we should, like in our mind, our ethos is we should be able to try and get a product exchange. Right. And we pay attention when they're moving and stuff like that. But I find it's equally as difficult, I find, for creators to determine what their pricing should be. And it's even harder for brands to determine what the pricing should be.
No, I agree with you. My comment, I had a thought that I was going to share with you. Yeah, look, it's inconsistent. You know what? If you look at it as compared to let's say display advertising or keyword advertising, it's a bidding system. So you made a comment that when, if it's a lower, like if they're not having such a great month, they'll be willing to do it for a lower rate. That's kind of like a bidding system where, and I will tell you that if someone's coming in and they want to do like a multifaceted campaign and it's a slower time, we have to, as a company, do it, like I call it yield management, right? Like we're managing kind of, there's a lot of factors. Do you ever,
this is actually a really good question.
Yeah.
Do you ever say, okay, it's a little bit of a slower time, right?
Sure.
Let's just choose a month. Yeah, I mean, there's a slow month. Or maybe this month is slow every year.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure there's consistency. Do you ever go, okay, this is going to be a slow month. We already know this. Let's make a package for the slower month. Reach out to our advertisers and say, if you buy anything within this month, you're going to get a reduced rate. Because that's what everyone else does.
That's not a bad idea. However, so what I found, now we've been doing this for 7 years, so I kind of know what the cycles are. And the cycles are that there are no cycles. There's no cycles.
So then you never have to do it.
I'll tell you. Well, no, I'll tell you why. Because I could have what I think is a perceived low month, let's say, and we're on the 15th. We get a call on the 16th when somebody's saying we need a campaign.
Right.
3 days. We have X amount of dollars. And a lot of the times they'll come to us and they'll say, hey, like this is our budget. Can you do it? And this is our budget for you. And then we'll look at our prices. And there have been times when we'll say, look, thank you. They're saying we want this, this, and this. And this is what we'll pay for you. This is what we'll pay you when they look at kind of Valera's data. And then we look at our media kit. Yeah. And then we'll say, you know what? Like it's actually more. So we're gonna throw in an additional piece of content for you to fill your budget. Yeah. So it's hard to predict in this industry.
But that's smart. You're running a business. You're saying, because eventually they're going to get your media kit, and then you'll be like, wait, I could have got it for less. But if you go and you add deliverables,
it's not worth it to discredit ourselves. Right. So.
Look, but you're running a business behind it, and that's the biggest. Most time we're dealing with, creators. There's most likely it's a side hustle. There's a lot of informalities to it. And it actually becomes more challenging for the brand to deal with scatteredness. You don't get the deliverables on time. Like there really is an informality to almost to the point where what we started doing is we would rent the studio and like bring creators in and be like, we have everything set up. You're going to shoot and we're going to guarantee that we're going to get the content because we're handling everything for you.
Yeah, and that's not a bad idea. I think there's different I think there's different creators, and I think there's different levels of creators.
Right.
You know, so we have brands sometimes calling us and saying, "Hey, look, we want to fly Valeria to this location. We want to do a shoot," and we're like, "Okay, here's our daily rate for shooting. Here's our daily rate for travel. You have to cover this and this and this and this." So it's kind of like, but you're not going to get that out of a
No.
creator that's at a smaller scale. That look, at the end of the day, it's somewhat of a Cowboys and Indians situation where it's
Right.
kind of all over the place. Because what's happened is, so here's what's happened.
Right.
Here, I want to articulate it. And I'm happy that we're getting into this conversation. It's not the typical conversations I have, but
Yeah.
because you and I have like a lot of kind of shared expertise, it's actually a fun discussion. When you look at marketing pre the creator economy and pre creators, what you have is you have companies purchasing ads, and it's standardized pricing. A lot of it is based on bidding.
Right.
A lot of it is based on just like traditional ads, like ad costs for like billboards and stuff like that. But then you had before creators were creators, before like it was defined as influencers, you had, let's say, the Michael Jordan deal, which I'm
Right.
sure you saw the movie Air,
Exactly.
right? That was a negotiation, right?
Right.
So now what's happening is back then you only you had a much smaller pool of creators or influencers that had enough scale. And so those deals were happening, and they were like the deals happening now, where there's no structure to them. It's like,
Right.
you know,
Whatever you
Michael
can get.
Jordan's mom is saying, "I want a piece of the sneaker. I want to."
Yeah.
And they're like, "You're crazy." And then it went this whole. You saw the movie, right?
Right.
And they had this whole back and forth. And so now what's happened? So there were few of those conversations because there were very few people like the Tom Cruises of the world. You're young. I think you're old enough
Yep.
to know who that is.
Yep.
That was more of a shot at myself for being old than a shot at you for being young. But what I'm saying is that now what's happening is because technologies come in and now everybody has the ability to make a brand deal, even if they only have 5,000 followers. That kind of weird negotiation like that Michael Jordan's mom had with Nike, now that's happening at scale in kind of like these micro situations across the board. So that's what you're seeing in the industry. And I don't know if it'll ever change. Whenever you have a personal brand, a celebrity of any kind, and you have a brand that wants access, you can't define that price.
Right.
You can't define the value of it. So it's always going to be this.
Difficult.
It's difficult, but it's the nature of
It's the way the business is.
it's the way
Yeah.
it is. I've tried to, for ourselves, to try to, because I come from more like I've had like more, kind of like definable pricing and all that throughout my career and the
Right.
businesses that I've had. So I've tried to apply it here, but it's a challenge. It's a challenge because
Very
nobody,
difficult.
it's difficult.
Yeah.
I want to move on to a couple of things. I want to talk about. It's funny because I'm looking over the questions that I have, and most of them like we just kind of organically got into it. But I want to talk about the sale of your company.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, so you sold to Sleep Country. Sleep Country is it? It's not only Canada. It's here too.
It's only
It's only
Canada. I mean, Americans know like an equivalent would be like Mattress Firm.
Mattress Firm,
Yeah.
which I just bought my mattresses when I moved into this house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're down the street. I just
Yeah,
walked
they're
into
at
the
every
retail.
corner.
They're on every
yeah,
corner.
so it's like Sleep Country's the same in Canada.
Tell me about this deal. Tell me about like what happened. Like how did this come about?
So we were, a friend of mine calls me and he's like, hey, so we were on Dragon's Den and
Yes.
he says, hey, there's a Jewish fundraising event in Montreal happening and they're kind of recreating Dragon's Den. They call it Lion's Den, but it's
Okay.
live
It's
audience.
not very original, but okay.
Yeah, I know. Live audience. They
Yeah.
put like, 5 super, wealthy and influential people as the lions.
Yeah.
They put 350 people in the crowd. 5 startups came.
Including you.
Including us. And they said, you're going to pitch
But
live.
you weren't a startup already. You were. Well, Maine.
This was 2019. So we're about a year and a half
okay.
in. Sorry, 2020. January of 2020. And I was like, cool. We wore the onesies. We came in.
Sorry. Do you think COVID helped you? I think it did.
Yeah. It wasn't an insane help to our business for
was
sure.
not, or it
it
was?
was. It was. Yeah. Like
People were staying home. They wanted to be cozy.
you're staying home. You got a ton of money, and you're anxious. The weighted
Yes.
blankets are incredible for insomnia and anxiety.
Okay.
So-
okay. Please continue. Sorry.
So we were there. So this is before COVID, right? This is January. COVID's happening in March, and this is the night actually Kobe died.
Okay.
So it was like everyone, there was like already like a weird vibe going on. So we're in Montreal. We go up on stage, we do our thing. I bring my parents in. Like, it was actually really fun. It was 300 live crowd, and the crowd got to vote on like who had the best pitch.
But you weren't actually pitching because you wanted funding. This was more.
I mean, we were open. Sure. You know, we were like early days. We were like, you know, we didn't want funding, but we would take it. You know, and it was awesome. It was like the president of Michael Kors. It was like just an incredible group they brought together. The guy from Poker Stars was there. It was just such an amazing crowd. And anyways, we pitched and we won best pitch. And we got like some form of donation, but then you donate it. And some guy, like, you know, everyone comes up to you after, tries to meet. It was a bunch of business people there, right? And one guy comes up to us. He's like, hey, I don't have anything for you, but you got to meet my friend. You know, my friend loves sleep stuff. So you got to meet my friend. Like, yeah, sure. Here's my email. You know, there's like, we're just dishing out emails. And he makes an intro to this guy named Stuart. We see Stuart. We see Dormevu.
I know who Stuart is. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. We see Dormevu in his email. Dormevu is like again, mattress firm in Quebec. It's like a sleep company in Quebec. So our first thought is we're gonna get them to carry the blankets. We're gonna do a wholesale deal. We're gonna make money on this. So we were supposed to be in person, and a couple of weeks before our meeting, COVID kind of happens. In person's off the table. He pushes us out a little bit. We end up meeting on Zoom. We get on this meeting with Zoom, and we have no idea like who he actually is. We just assumed like, you know, Dormevu, they have a bunch of locations in Quebec. We're gonna sell them. So we're pitching the blanket like crazy, you know, gotta have it. It's the best selling thing. And he kind of looks at us and realizes we don't know who he is. So, you know, so he's kind of like, do you guys know who you're talking to? And we're like, yeah, we saw you're the president of Dormevu. And he's like, you should like Google, like you guys should do a little bit more research. And it turns out he was the president of Sleep Country, which owns Dormevu. And he started Dormevu, and Sleep Country bought his business, you know, like years ago, and the eventual CEO. And we were just telling him all about our business, and he's like just enamored by the growth. You know, we went from $700K to $10 million. We're projecting $25 million in that year, like just straight beeline growth. And we just kind of became friends. And like 2 months later, we got on another call, and it was kind of like a mentorship thing. We were telling him about our business. We ended up moving to like Tulum for a couple of months because we wanted to get out of the COVID mess. We wanted to like work out and be outside. He was just amazed by the whole thing. We did the Montreal Canadian deal. He's from Montreal. And then there was a moment where we were on one of those calls, and he looks at us and he's like, so what are we doing here? Like, are we just going to do mentorship, or are we going to buy the business?
Wow.
And we're like, do you want to buy the business? And he's like, do you want to sell the business? And I was like, well, not all of it, because like I still really bullish on it. We're only in like the early year. He's like, well, why don't you guys decide what you want to do? Very quickly, we decided, yes, we want to sell the business. This is an incredible partner. Like, they have the largest distribution channel. Like, this is it. And we loved him.
Yeah.
You know, he was such a special guy. He cared so much about us. Sure. And we started putting up billboards, like, you know, up and around his house in Montreal. Like, we really wanted to like push this forward. And the brand was just scaling uncontrollably. Like, we were a sure shot for 25 million in our third year. And we ended up just really talking through it. And then halfway through it, he looked at us and he's like, boys, like, if we're going to do this, he's like, I know you've never done anything like this. We've never sold a business before. He's like, we're going to put a peg in the ground and say, we're doing this. And then it's going to get a little messy. There's going to be lawyers and stuff like that, but like, it's going to start. And we said, okay, like, we don't know what that means. He's like, well, go find a lawyer because you're going to need one. And we're like, oh my God. So right away we start calling people. We get an M&A lawyer, and it was like 6 months of back and forth. It was actually really, really difficult.
Sure.
One of the most difficult, like, mentally 6 months of my life, because you try to go through a negotiation, you try to sell your business, you have to run your business at the same time. The business was going up, and then the summer was weird. It was just like we had a down summer for no reason, and at any moment we're like, it's all over. Oh my God, it's gonna happen. It's all over. Oh my God, it's gonna happen.
I'm familiar.
Yeah. Like at one point, like, you know, I would cry all night, and then wake up in the morning, and he'd be like, how's it going, guys? So excited for this deal. And I'm like, oh my God, no, it's still gonna happen, you know? And it was really, really difficult, but he was, even till today, like, I've learned how to, he's actually made me more of a man, because everything he said early days, like when I say it, it's real, you know, because we're like, sign the document, like blah, blah, blah. And he was just like, no, guys, like I said, it's happening. It's happening. Don't have to worry. And no matter how difficult things got, he stuck to it. And I've become more like that. When I say things to people, I mean it. And I used to not. I used to say whatever. Sometimes it sticks. Sometimes it doesn't stick. He's taught me during those really difficult 6 months, and it was like due diligence. I had PwC. I didn't even know what PwC meant or was. They're auditing my warehouse. They're counting things. I'm freaking out.
Just for everybody to understand, PwC is PricewaterhouseCoopers. They're actually an auditing company.
Firm. Yeah. And I have like 6 quants in the office. They're like, your inventory, we have 20,000 units. Your inventory is off by 5. Why? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, maybe the guy lost. They're like, well, what's your procedure for counting inventory? And I'm like, I don't have a procedure. You don't have a procedure.
Go in the warehouse.
Yeah, like, I don't have a procedure. Maybe it's a software. Well, what was the software? Like, so, and they're so smart. They're so good at what they do.
Oh yeah.
And I just told you guys for the last hour or whatever that I'm marketing, branding, not back end like operations. And no matter what, he always stuck by us and supported us. And, you know, it turned out to be a really incredible deal. But we were very lucky because we turned down PE opportunities, private equities, and like other people that were interested in buying the business. And
they were interested in buying or funding?
Buying the business.
Outright.
Yeah. Like we took over the city. We were on every bus. We were everywhere.
When you say the city, where were most of your sales coming from?
Toronto.
Because it's interesting because you could have shipped your products anywhere. You chose to brand yourself as a Canadian company servicing Canada, which arguably is, it's a small market. I mean, you crushed it obviously, but why not go after the United States?
It depends on the brand goals, right? So like when no one, like Sleep Country, for example, publicly traded, you can see how they do, $1 billion a year just in Canada. We wanted to sell $50-60 million a year. That was our goal at the time. Yeah. We knew we could easily do that in Canada. You know, now we're building for $100 million business. That now we have to layer in the U.S. market. So, and I always find it's so much easier to sell where you are, right? And so many times American brands that come to Canada, you know, it's a big country. Not like population, 37 million now, but it's the distribution super difficult. There's different zones. Quebec is a country within the country.
You said, that's a whole other, that's a whole other political discussion. You're too young to remember referendum. I still remember referendum.
Okay.
You don't even know what that means.
I don't even know what that is.
So back in 1994, around there, I was in college. I went to Western, and Quebec wanted to separate from the rest of the country.
Oh yes, I remember. Yes.
You don't remember. You heard of it.
Like I remember learning about it in school.
What year were you?
Like elementary school.
Thanks. What year were you born?
95.
95. So this was before you were born.
Yes, I learned about it.
I remember watching on like live television. We had televisions. We didn't have internet.
Yeah.
Back then. And I remember watching on television the whole referendum where the people in Quebec were voting on whether or not they wanted to separate from the country. But not to get into a political discussion and take too much of a tangent, they wanted to separate, have their own country. It was going to geographically divide Canada.
Yep.
Right? Because you still have all of Eastern Canada, you know, east of Quebec.
Yep.
So it was going to geographically divide the country. They wanted to keep the military and they wanted to stiff the rest of the country on the national deficit. So I remember seeing that and thinking, oh my God. And it was a very close margin. 51% of people
was really close,
said we're going to stay in Canada.
Was that during Trudeau, I think?
Trudeau Senior, yeah.
Senior.
I believe so, yeah. I'd have to check the books, but yeah.
So that's...
anyway, so back to
but that energy still exists within Quebec.
That divide.
Yeah. And that's why it's... The reason why I say it's a country within the country, not even for political reasons, is culturally.
Absolutely.
It's completely different people.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, in the U.S. you have that. You have different states are also completely different people.
Well, don't get me started on that. The states, to me, every
town is
state,
different.
Every town, but like every state, I feel like it's its own universe, like culturally. But in Canada, you know, you made a statement. It's funny because people from here, you know, when I say a Canadian, they right away, oh, Montreal is so beautiful. I'm like, yeah, but that's just Montreal. Like, there's a whole other.
Montreal.
You know, but you just mentioned something when I asked where your sales came from. You said specifically, actually, Toronto, not just Canada.
Yeah,
the highest
Ontario is the largest province in the entire country, and then Toronto GTA is the highest concentration of those people.
Yes.
So it is the biggest market in the entire country.
So what's amazing to me, so a couple of things I want to make note of for the people listening, and I'm curious to get your take on it. You started your e-commerce business. That the definition of an e-commerce business is that it is not like geographically to a certain degree. The fulfillment part has a large geographic dependency in terms of logistics, reverse logistics, getting the product back when there's returns.
Right.
So, but e-commerce, when people think of e-commerce, they think global. I can be global right away. You kind of took what I think would be traditional thinking around e-commerce and you said, no. Not only am I going to go national, I'm going to go in Toronto. So those ads that you're talking about, all those keyword ads and everything, you're hyper local. Like you're still back taking a page from the chapter of Revitasize. You're honing in on postal codes.
You're honing in on postal codes and also the way you're targeting, right? So most of my competitors would target weighted blankets, right? So you would search weighted blankets or weighted blankets. Even American companies would come in, they would buy weighted blankets, they'd make ads, weighted blankets near you, whatever. But who wants that? Imagine, what is this called? Like North Miami or something like that?
This is Midtown, guys?
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say you were searching for a table, this beautiful table over here, wooden table. You're searching for it. You see an ad for Midtown Miami wooden tables versus wooden tables in Miami. Midtown Miami is going to catch your eye because, probably close. I can probably get it. Maybe easy returns, easy service. I'm more inclined, right? And what we did is we hyper focus on region. So it was like weighted blankets in Toronto. So people want easy returns, easy shipping. So it's the same way that I would do any business, even the businesses that I'm involved in, even like CPG products. Like we want to be in Whole Foods nationwide. It's like, but no one knows you in LA. You are in New York.
Why would they buy from you if you
have no
Whole Foods in LA? Yeah.
So you need to focus. So we would go Toronto. It wasn't even Toronto. We'd go like downtown core, GTA, and then you get natural like trickle effect into all these places. But we'd focus, and then we'd go to Calgary. Okay, let's win Calgary. Let's make content for Calgary. Let's get influencers in Calgary. Let's get creative. Then we went, the Habs was a part of our initiative to get into Quebec. Can't just run ads in Quebec. No one knows who you are, right? So we built a French site. We sponsored the Habs. We supported it with ads. We had billboards. We focused in Quebec. And then, of course, you start to see traction there. You have easy access online, but it's still the same core principles of you need to go in, infiltrate the region, be consistent, have everyone see you. We do really well now. Now we sell in the US. We do really, really well in California. So, hot state, we sell cooling products, everything's organic, that it works. And one of our growth marketers was like, we don't really do like that well in California. We do really good, the Palisades. We do really good in that area.
Wow.
So why don't we get like influencers from that area, creative from that area, stick to that area. There'll be natural growth from it. Get the billboards that surround that area and you hone in and you focus and then you expand from there.
That's wild. I mean, it's incredible that you had the, I guess the entrepreneurial maturity and the discipline that knowing you can cast a wide net and you can go shallow within each wide geographic, but you decided to go deep into specific geographics. So I commend you on that.
It's the only way to actually have performance marketing. You need to be a sniper, right? You need to look at 1,000 people and do whatever you can to be like, okay, from this group of 1,000, who are the 3 most likely to buy what I'm about to sell?
Right.
And if your goal is to spray and pray and try to get everybody, and then naturally those people, it's very expensive. It's very expensive. Imagine there's 1,000 people and I said there's 3 people in the 1,000 that are going to buy from you. If your method is to sit down and talk with every single one of them, it's going to be a long time. Right. But our method is let's find the ones that are wearing the specific type of, bracelet, because that's the people where we like that bracelet. So let's find them and then we'll just go right to them. We'll have 3 conversations. Amazing. And that's what we want to do in business.
It's so easy to kind of go down this road. It's like a slippery slope when we start talking about business and tech and e-commerce and marketing because I'm so ingrained in that world, and as are you. But I want to kind of shift the focus a little bit and go back to the sales. So I want you to tell me about like when the actual wire hit your bank account. Like how did that moment look like for you?
Oh man, we can get into a whole manifestation here. So like on day one, we started the business. Leo and I said we'd sell it. We knew exactly how much we'd sell it for, and we actually knew who we would sell it to. And we were right about it all. We didn't know how,
right?
But we were very, very locked in. And Sleep Country actually bought a business a few years in 2018. So the year we started, called Endy, and
I remember Endy.
We were obsessed with that business. And the founder of that business, a remarkable individual, just so smart. We were just huge fans, but we studied everything about it, and we were very clear in our I'm a scripter, and you know what that means?
No.
So I script the future in real time. I think it's a hyperbole for me to say every day, but 3 to 4 days a week religiously.
Yeah.
For years.
What is the action of scripting? What does that
So
mean?
I'd sit down, close my eyes, do a meditation, do none of that, just sit down. And I would say, okay, for example, I do this every year. I close my eyes and I'll say, okay, December of 2024, this year, what does my life look like? And some people will go, I have a car, I have a house, I have a girlfriend, I have a wife, like very basic. I write it as if it's the present. So I'm walking down, Midtown. I'm going to go visit, my friend Gary. We're going to go grab a Pura Vida. We're going to talk about, this business thing coming back, going to get into my G-Wagon, go grab lunch with Hannah. I'm going to take a couple of business calls. I'm feeling really enlightened. My parents are coming in this week. It's going to be awesome. They're going to stay with me. I'm getting really clear about.
But you're getting detailed too. This
I'm
isn't
getting
just these
detailed.
aren't macro events in your life. You're getting day-to-day micro scripting.
And then the end of that, of all those things I'm saying, I'm then describing the feeling. So I had such an amazing time on Gary's podcast. Like I left, I feel so enlightened. I have a new friend. Knowing that I can meet new people, it makes me really confident in myself that I can go and meet new people and make new friends anywhere. And that feeling, I'm getting trapped in that feeling. So we would do that with the business. We say, we sell the business and I'm going to go buy my mom her dream car and she's going to cry and it's going to be such an amazing moment. I'm going to buy it on her 60th birthday. Everyone's going to be there. I'm going to surprise her and it's going to be a life moment. And I would write that over and we're going to sell. It's going to be an incredible thing. Leo and I are going to, we're going to have this special moment where we're going to hug and it's going to be a bond that we're going to have for the rest of our life. And then that feeling of connection, knowing that we can take risk and do this together gives me motivation to do everything I'm doing. And that feeling, so I'm connecting to that energy. I do this all the time.
You literally do this all the time.
I still to this day, all the time. And people, I've got books of me writing it in, sometimes long, sometimes short.
You're not just thinking it, you're actually...
I'm writing it.
So you're like pre-journaling.
Yeah.
Is it something like that?
Yeah, it's called scripting. You're scripting a future moment.
But you're doing it how far in advance? Like that day?
You asked me, selling the business, I would script the sale of the business, but to the finite detail where I was like, I'm going to get a check. I'm going to go to this specific location. I put in the address 1430. I didn't even know it. 1430 Center Street, which is my TD bank where I would go. And I remember they would denied us for loans. We had a lot of issue with this. We're divided. I'm going to go and I'm going to find there's going to be a young teller there, young girl. I'm going to go. I'm going to wait for her. Even if someone else calls me, I'll let this guy go. I'm going to wait for her and I'm going to give her the check. I'm going to tell her to deposit it into my account. And she's going to have a white face, call in her manager. And I scripted this to the point where when we sold the business, they said, hey, send the wire details. I said, no, I don't want a wire. I want a check. They're like, we don't do checks. It's very risky. We have to do it as a draft. You can't just walk around with this. You have to have security. You can't. Guys, I want a check. No draft. I want a check. It's going to be 2 weeks. I'll wait 2 weeks. I want the check. And my lawyer had to escort me. He's like, dude, I'm now in charge. Why are you doing this to me? I'm like, give me the check. And much to my surprise, I get the check. I go to that location. Of course, there's a young girl. What are the odds?
Sure, yeah.
Sitting there. No one else is there though. So I go right for her. I give her the check. She does the exact reaction I imagine. She brings the manager over. The manager was the manager that denied me for my loan 4 or 5 years ago prior with Revita. She goes, "What's this for?" It doesn't matter what it's for. And she's
What a
like,
question. What do you mean? What's this?
yeah,
for?
like what's like, how does this even happen? Like, and then in the same moment, I envisioned, like, okay, give me exactly this amount. I'm gonna go buy my mom like her dream car. Got a draft, went right to the dealership. Bought, like,
What was the car?
I bought her the Range Rover that she always wanted.
Full size?
No, she wanted the Sport with the red guts and the white out. Like, she was very, very specific of what she wanted. Surprised her on her 60th birthday. But, Leo and I, when we sold it, people always ask, "What'd you guys do? Did you celebrate? Did you party?" And I remember just like, it was actually underwhelming. We're just like, "Yeah, man, good job." We gave each other a hug. And a week later, I had Shabbat at his house, and I asked him, I said, isn't it weird? We didn't, like, what? And he's like, dude, he showed me the scripting. And he's like, one thing that sucks about scripting.
Oh, he showed you how to do it. Okay.
He showed me it. Yeah. And he said, one thing that sucks about it is that if you do it properly, you've already felt the real feelings of what it's like to sell. You've already felt the end of the story. So we believed in the end of the story. By the time we got to the end, we've already felt it. So he's like, the last 4 years we've been feeling it. Now that we're at the end, it's like a familiar feeling. And it's not that unique to us. And if you do it properly, it's not that unique.
When you say properly, how do you do this properly?
You really feel it authentically. So
Tell yourself to feel it?
I know I'm closing my eyes and some people, they want a girlfriend, they want a wife. Okay, what does that mean? I want her to be nice and, have a good family. No, like, what does she look like? What does she like? What's her activities? What type of person is she? Is like, get really detailed. I did that with Hannah.
I was about to ask you. I didn't know if it was too personal because I met Hannah. So you came here with Hannah the other day, and the four of us hung out. And she's lovely.
Yeah.
She has this energy about her. As soon as you pulled up in your car and she came out, she was just like this breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Lovely girl. Yeah.
I was very, very specific in what I had a long relationship before I came out of it. And I said, I got it. I have a therapist, and I was telling her, I want a girlfriend. I don't like meeting random people. It grosses me out. I need and she's like, well, you got to know what you want. And I was like, what does that mean? She's like, exactly what you want. And I would envision it. Hannah does this to a whole nother level than I do. She's like, I wake up on a Sunday morning listening to a specific song. But you close your eyes and you really feel what it's like to get to the end of that story. And you know how many times I do this and I actually don't like the end, and I realize that's actually not for me. And people don't do that. You think you want something, right? You think you want a Lambo, you think you want this, you think you want to be an entrepreneur. Sometimes, people, the idea of now it's really cool to be an entrepreneur. When you were doing it, it wasn't that. It was the guys who couldn't get jobs.
Correct.
It was the losers, really. Now it's the cool kids because everyone's got Lambos, right? So.
Well, I wouldn't say everyone's.
But actually, who knows? Some do.
Well, some are rented.
Some,
especially here. Especially
here,
Miami.
Where we grew up, it's like if you got a Lambo, you drive it, 1,000 kilometers a year max.
Yeah.
And so like really closing your eyes, and like I did that actually with the Lambo. That was one of my goals when I was 21. And I would close my eyes. I'd say, okay.
Did you end up buying a Lambo?
Well, I'll tell you why not. I got to this. I'm doing this scripting. I'm getting to my Lambo. I press the button. The door opens. I sit down into it. I touch the leather on the wheel. I flick the switch because you got to flick it on.
Yeah.
I press it. I feel the rumble, and I kind of feel like this chair is kind of uncomfortable. Actually, I don't like the fact that I have to. I've never even been in one by the time.
It's super uncomfortable. Yeah.
I never been, and I was like, I have to break my neck to look out the window, and I don't know if it's that. Maybe I don't want a Lambo. Maybe I like bigger cars. And then fast forward 6 years, my buddy gets one. Brings it to my house. He's like, yo, you got to drive it. I'm like, 100% I got to drive it, of course. I get into the Lambo, and much to my surprise, my back starts hurting. It's really uncomfortable. And I start laughing. I go to him, 6 years ago, I did a scripting, and I envisioned that I would be uncomfortable in this car. And he's like, no way. And I'm like, that's why I knew it wasn't for me. So sometimes you have to really get deep into the feeling, and you're like, oh, I want it. And when you get that want, it becomes a need.
Yeah.
Unstoppable you become. So I do this all the time.
So tell me, okay, I have to dive into this. Tell me your scripting schedule. How do you do this?
Usually in the morning, I will wake up, in Miami it's great. You get to go outside. I make a coffee. I bring out my journal. On one page, I'll write.
You're writing it by hand?
Yeah.
Always by hand.
Always. Yeah, I have this other
Is
thing.
there something to writing it by hand that makes it special?
It doesn't feel like work. I'm on my computer. It's while I'm working.
Yeah.
And I just, sometimes I write more, sometimes I write less. And I keep them. So on one page, I'm actually just documenting the last day. Sometimes I write like 3 days worth. I'll be like, or sometimes I'll do a week. Hey, this is like what I did last week. And I do that for every year. So I have these books now of every year that like one day I'll have, 50 books, and you can, I always say, like my dad, for example, I would pay an unfathomable amount of money to go into a bookshelf right now and go, my dad at 32, and just start reading about his days at like 32.
But his days, the way that he scripted them,
The way
not
that
they
he-
actually happened.
No, so I do both. So I have one where I journal what happened in like yesterday. Like for example, today, when I journal, whether it's tomorrow or the next day, I'll be like, I went to Gary's house, an incredible podcast. Then I'll journal actually what's happening, and then I'll script on the other page of what I want.
So so I'm just trying to understand. So you'll start your day by writing in your journal what's going to happen today.
No, what happened yesterday,
What happened yesterday?
and
what really happened
what
yesterday?
actually happened, just documenting.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we forget.
Yeah.
And then
I'm talking short form, bullets.
sometimes more storytelling.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, like I had this conversation with so-and-so, kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I'm not really feeling good about it. Like, I don't like documenting really how I feel and what's going on, almost like talking to myself. And then on the other page, I'm scripting in the future.
The next day.
No, I'm consistent the whole year on what I want. Very, very clean. Yeah.
So you're talking about like a year out. You're scripting on a daily basis details of the following year.
Either the following year, like sometimes it's like just moments that I'm manifesting, right? So for example, like right now, yesterday, even a good example. Yesterday I watched a friend of mine, you might know him, Jesse Itzler. He has this amazing story about, he loves time. And one thing he talks about was he was going to take his mom on a vacation, and when he was younger, but he didn't have the money. He's like, okay, when I have the money, I'll do it. And then 10 years goes by, he has the money, but he doesn't have the time. And then 10 years go by, he has the money, he has the time, but she's too old, she can't go. And he's just like, well, if I said at any point in time, if I just said this year, I'm taking my mom on vacation, it would have happened. I just kept pushing it off because I feel like I have all this time. So for me, I'm really scripting right now. My mom is from Morocco. She's never been, I want to take her.
She's never been back.
She's never been back. She's never, actually never been. Her family's from Morocco. She was born in Israel. But she never went back to like her heritage. She's never done that, but she really wants to go. She talks about it all the time.
Yeah.
And I can do that for her. I can take her. So I'm scripting about, not only taking her, but like the time we're going to have.
Yeah.
We're going to go and we're going to have, incredible recipes, and we're going to visit like these temples, and I'm going to surprise her and bring her to like where her family grew up. And I'm really scripting the experience in detail, so that it'll happen.
Wow.
So I'm choosing moments, you can choose it for your kids. Most people don't think about, moments in their kids' lives, like a championship or a prize or a business or a graduation. You just expect it to happen, but like, how are you bringing that in? So I do that all the time with everything, right? Like this podcast, you told me you're really starting to love doing it and you're getting really good at it, obviously, right? And
Thank you for that compliment. Yeah.
no, I mean, you prepared, you care, like I do a lot of these, you'd be surprised. And you invest into it, and it's in your home. And like, these are things that matter. And have you ever thought about what the end, not the end, because that's a bad word, but what this podcast looks like in 2 years from now?
I mean, yeah, I have.
Yeah. I'm sure you think about it often.
Yes and no. I decided with this is actually the first thing that I've done that I didn't really have a kind of a commercial plan for it, where it's something I'm doing more for my soul because I enjoy it.
For the feeling.
For the feeling. It's multiple things. It's for the feeling. It's to meet cool people, to learn from their stories, to really give the benefit of their stories to the outside world, to the people who are going to consume this content now and in the future, because this lives forever, right? Online. And honestly, for my kids to see the example of it. Yeah.
So all of it comes back to many different ways to make you feel good.
Yes.
Right. So you've already envisioned oh, my kids are going to see this for a long time. Wow, that makes me feel good. My guests are going to benefit from a long time. I get to help them too. That makes me feel good. I get to document my stuff. Those are all feelings that you already know what it feels like to have all those things.
Right. You're saying I've already scripted it.
You did it already.
Got it.
You just did it in your mind.
Correct.
Right? But I script down because I find there's a power in writing it.
Amazing.
And sometimes jot note, like people take this too far. They write like crazy. Sometimes just jot notes.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'm just like, yeah, like this business that I just like invested is going to do this by this day. And this is like, and when it does this, I'm going to feel really proud. I'm happy for those guys because I believe in them and I love them and I want them to win. And when they win, I win. But knowing that they win makes me feel that I can support people and reach their dreams. That feeling, you can't shake that feeling.
Yeah.
And then I'll go and I'll invest into it. But sometimes I'm like, I'll invest into it. I'm like, I don't really care for these people. I don't really care for the product. I don't really like their vision. I like the business, but like, there's no feeling. I'm out.
Well, I mean, look, I think we can keep talking about this indefinitely, but I want to move on to something else. And I want to ask you, tell me about what does kind of post close, like what does your life look like right now? I know that, we had talked when you were here with Hannah and we were with Valeria, we talked about some of the things you're working on. What does life look like for you in terms of like, what's the delta between kind of pre-sale and now in your life?
Well, listen, life, anyone that tells you it's 100% the same, I mean, that's just a lie. I mean, life definitely changes after acquisition, 100%. I was super, super, super fortunate to, I mean, looking back, I know this now more than ever, to have a strategic person buy our business.
Yes.
Because we're in the same field. So there's so many synergies and I get to learn a lot. I was very informal in my business practices, very messy.
Doesn't sound like it.
Yeah. Like
you sound like you were pretty damn organized.
I'm now.
On some of the stuff that is your forte, on the marketing.
Exactly, the things that I like, but I never cared for HR.
Not like the back warehouse, like how many,
like accounting, HR, accounts receivable, like that's because that stuff away from me, like I never. But that is very important still in a business, equally as important as everything else.
Yes, yes.
I never valued that.
Sure.
Learning from a mega corporation, publicly traded, on how things are organized. I love systems, but I only like systems and the things that I like.
Sure.
You have to build systems in every department. So I've learned a tremendous amount. And I feel like if we sold to like a PE firm or just like some family office, I never would have got that benefit.
Yeah.
They really had, top tier executives come
You would
and
have had
teach.
the benefit of the money.
Yeah, just the money, right? And I got to learn a lot, which I really, really love. The business is, we don't own a majority of it anymore, but it's kind of still our baby.
Absolutely.
So
you own. I saw how much of it you own.
Yeah.
You sold 52%, right?
we sold 52, and then every year they acquire 16. So it's almost, we own a minority now, a very big minority.
If you don't mind me asking, if it's not proprietary or if it's not confidential, did you lock in the valuation on those additional 16s, or is the valuation going up as you scale?
So it's,
if you're able to comment.
I mean, it's publicly online. You can see it. It's there's like a 7 times essential multiple on every year's EBITDA. So if the EBITDA goes up, you can make more. Sure. So it's a good deal. We're incentivized to run and do a good job.
You're incentivized on EBITDA rather than gross.
Right.
Got it. Which is a responsible way to do things.
It is responsible, but it also, could be difficult in times where, if there's a situation where sometimes the gross is more important than the EBITDA.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can be difficult. So you learn a lot of that. And I've rebuilt teams, we've rebuilt offices. We did a pop-up in Yorkdale Mall, like having people, like I was muscled everything. I wore all the hats,
Sure, I know.
Now we have a team. There's over 20 people. So I learned
which is still a pretty small team considering your revenue.
Yeah, it is. 20 people are in the house, and we have agency support. We have if you actually count the people working on the business, it's probably closer to 40. Yeah. But like in-house in the office is 20.
Gotcha.
And I learned how to rely on people, how to properly delegate. I used to just delegate something I didn't want to do. Like, I don't want to do this. Yeah, you do it. If I don't want to do this, you do this. And it's like, no, delegation is like giving the right person the right task at the right time.
Correct.
And I never learned that. So very, very fortunate for that. But things have definitely changed. More opportunities come your way. I lived in a scarcity mindset for, a big portion of my life.
I'm surprised to hear you say that.
I was unaware of it. I didn't want to spend money on anything. I was really, really tight. someone called me cheap. I was scared that I would lose it all. I watched it happen in real time. I watched things evaporate. I watched what it's like, for my dad to get sick and not be able to pay the mortgage. I've seen it. It happens fast. It doesn't just happen slow. It happens very, very fast.
Yeah.
But I've learned to live in abundance and to allow money to flow through me and to accept, big bills and take on big projects and go after bigger things. And that all happens post deal. I always, like I said earlier, when you get exposed, when you meet someone who is doing numbers that you wouldn't believe a human can do, and you talk to them and you're like, you're kind of normal.
Yeah.
You just thought bigger. And it opens up a lot mentally. And that's why I always tell people, just we change the environment. I have 2 friends, really, like from my childhood still, because it's very rare that, you people progress the same ways. Very conscious of environment, and post deal, the environment changes very quickly as well.
What are you working on now?
So,
I know you're still,
so we're still seeing Hush through, which is really important for us because, like, for me, I always tell people, they're like, well, we're not going to have any equity. Who cares? The business. And I'm like, no, it would be really cool for me in like 10 years from now to like walk down the street and be like, yeah, like, that was ours, So I really want to see that. I think it will do well. The business, the products that are coming out are just fantastic. But I love supporting and helping founders. And so for the last 2 years, I've been literally paying out of my own pocket to host dinners all over the country. I've done 17 cities, 25 dinners in the last 2 years. Over 1,500 plus founders have come.
Focus on e-commerce founders.
All kinds, majority, because that's kind of what I attract, but all kinds of founders and creators and just really cool entrepreneurs, like the founders. There would no executives come, just the founders come.
Yeah.
It's a different type of individual who risked it first. And we've had $1 billion brands come, $100 million brands, $1 million brands. And so many people, every time that people leave the dinner, and it's by founders for founders. Like, I'm a founder hosting this dinner, and everyone's like, so what's the catch? You just spent like $5,000 on a dinner. Like, what's the catch? And there was never a catch until I was like, wait a second. There's nowhere for everyone to continue this amazing dinner. We do this dinner. Everyone like loved it. A couple people exchanged numbers, and you go home and you're like, oh, that Aaron guy was nice. He threw a dinner for me. And by demand, I was like, what if I created a community for you guys all just to like hang out with online? Yeah. And then that's when we started the Founders Club, which is a community for founders doing anywhere from $1 million to $1 billion in sales. Majority of the people are like CPG, product, e-commerce, retail. But we got some SaaS partners. We have personal brands. We have like, as long as the clients aren't the club. So if you're someone who's selling to founders, you're not allowed in the club because that's weird. But it's all founders.
Isn't everyone kind of selling to founders? Like,
yes and no, like not like directly. Like, I mean, of course,
you're talking
like,
to consumers.
Yeah, like if you sell to consumers, it's great. And like by virtue, like if you're a founder, you're also consuming every day. So like you are, but if you're selling like website design, every single person in the club needs website design.
Right.
So we wouldn't let you in the club.
So you probably wouldn't let me in the club because I sell to founders, because we sell marketing campaigns, influencer
No,
marketing.
I would let you in the club.
But I sell to founders because so a founder in your so to take you through that, like a founder in your organization,
right?
In this group, if they have an e-commerce brand, I mean, Valeria has a wide range. She's likely able to represent them. So they might come to me and say, hey, can I do an influencer marketing campaign with Valeria?
Yeah, that's totally fine, because maybe let's say there's 1,000 founders in the club. There's maybe 100 that could actually do it with you, right? And that's totally fine. The difference in your case is there's so much help that the brands can help you,
right?
And that you can help them.
There's an exchange. So on that note, I know we talked at the beginning of the show and what you and I talked about at the beginning of the episode of how we can work together. So I'm just going to bring it up.
Okay, let's
we don't have to like do a deal right now, but I just want to bring it up.
Well, this would be great content.
Wouldn't that
be like the launch video.
This would be like we could pull a short clip out of there. So we had, and I'm kind of repeating the story to you, but for the benefit of the audience, we started our clothing brand.
Yep.
And I foolishly said, I'm going to go into product, while it's very hard. So I have a respect for you and for other founders who actually have a product. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to create this clothing brand because it makes a lot of sense because, Valeria, one of her big pillars is fashion. It's very native to her. She was a fashion model for many years before she picked up a vlog camera. And I said, I'm going to create it. And then I had 3 different leaders. I paid a recruiter $50,000 plus to get me, me the right person. And we went through 3 different leaders, like high level, almost kind of C-level executives, to come in and to run it. We had a warehouse in Toronto. We did the whole thing.
Wow.
And we did it. We were doing a couple of $1 million a year in sales. I can't even tell you if it was profitable because I'm sure
Because it gets blended.
Well, no. I actually set up a separate corporation for it. So I still have a hard time understanding because, anyways, that's a whole complex discussion from a P&L perspective. But I understood that if we want to be able to concentrate on the media, what was happening, it was taking about 40% of Valeria's time because she had to meet with the designers, like the actual clothing designers, make sure everything was great. She would fly to Portugal to meet with the people who were doing the construction of the product. Then we moved our manufacturing to New York, and then she would fly to New York, and costs were soaring. And the scariest part, not so much the scariest, but I think the nail in the coffin, the proverbial coffin, was when we spent all of this time and energy. We had this amazing designer out of South America. We had this New York company who's doing all the manufacturing, top quality, everything. We researched the pricing. We did everything. We thought, this is it. We shot a campaign for the product in New York, and we had a set, and Valeria was the model, and everything was great, fantastic. And you already know where the story's going.
Yeah.
And we had inventory, and we put out, and crickets. No one's buying. So then you spent all this money to get to this point. You've iterated on the product. You've created the product. You're sitting on now inventory. You have your warehousing costs. You have your staff costs. And I was just looking at this saying, we can't continue to be distracted from our core mission. And then when we shuttered it proudly, and Valeria did a post, and it got like 5 million views of her owning her mistakes. And I'm like, it wasn't a mistake. We had to do this. Like, I don't regret it. We had to do it. And, we did that. And all of a sudden her audience metrics started soaring because her head was back in the game. She was creating content. We were all analyzing the content and doing all that. Brand partnerships soared, more than made up for the revenue.
Right.
So all of this context is for what you and I talked about. Is I said, I still want to have a product. I don't think I want fashion. I don't think
it's unnecessary.
One, it's because it's really difficult.
Right.
That's one. Number, 2, I would say a disproportionately large amount of our brand deals are with like legacy fashion brands who have been around, and so we don't want to cannibalize their business on our own platform. So what I had said to you is, I want to partner. We can come up with some kind of a product, and I don't want to operate that. I want Valeria to be the face. I want to create the content. I want to offer access to our audience, leverage our goodwill, leverage the relationships we have with creators totaling hundreds of millions of followers in aggregate. And I said, Aaron, if you can find an operational partner who can do all of that, and then we can bring the benefit that we can bring, that's what I want to do. So that ball is in your court now.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do it.
That's pretty easy.
Yeah.
Do you have some without getting into like which product category it would be, but do you have an operator in mind?
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I've built, I have teams, I have the right people. But one thing that people underestimate the most in all of it is running the back end is actually, to me it's easy, but for, if you've never done it before, it's hard.
The back end of a product company.
Yeah, like there's again, it comes back to the whole funnel. There's like the website, there's the product, there's the distribution, there's all of those things. There's making sure you're getting the best deals because that affects your margin. All that stuff can go out the window very, very quickly.
Yes. The
right pricing of the product, like everything, the stickiness, there's, retention, there's communication, there's all those things that are important, which can be set up. And in my mind, it's easy, a lot for the average individual.
Yeah.
The one thing that's anyone can come up with, and it's the most difficult in my mind, is not the product, because we can come up with a million ideas.
Yes.
It's an amazing product. That is the delta. In all situations, the delta is an amazing product. And people often leave that out, right? They think, oh, I can take a pillow or a sheet brand it,
You're
make good
absolutely right.
storytelling, you know, all the stuff I told you about the targeting and the marketing and the storytelling and the habs and the billboards,
Yeah.
all that stuff's important. But if the sheet didn't keep you cold like we said it would,
Yep.
it's done.
Absolutely.
Right? So, and people like spend 2 minutes on product and, you know, 58 minutes of every hour on everything else. But so like basically what I'm saying is we get the product. It'll be like, I don't want to say a lock. It's a lock if we get the product.
Right. So
The right product.
you're saying it's the combination of the personal brand that Valeria is and her access and all of the benefits, the goodwill, the access to the audience,
Yeah.
her ability to create content, my production team, all of that with absolutely the the correct product.
Game changing.
Right.
There's a million skincare brands. There's a million green powders. You know that?
Like matcha.
Matcha, greens this, greens plus, bloom green. But AG1,
It's funny. I
Why?
was actually.
it's an amazing product.
It is an amazing product. I
Right.
was out yesterday with one of their early investors.
Yeah.
And he brought me, I don't know if you saw my stories, he brought me like a
Oh, a bunch
huge
of them?
bag.
Have you tried it?
I've had it before.
Oh, okay,
No,
good.
it is a great product. And we've actually spoken with them before. They're great. But yeah, you're right. And I think from what you're saying, it's not even so much the product category that's important
Can be
or
any
the
category.
actual product itself. It's once you've committed to that category, it's making sure that the product is best in class.
It's got to be, the product's got to be worth the money, and it's got to be everything you say it is and more.
And more.
And it enhances actually the marketing when
Yes.
the product is so good. Because, I seen that everywhere. Then the one person in the room, I got it. Dude, it's amazing. Done. You just sold the whole room.
You're basically filling a hole. Like you're filling.
Mm-hmm.
It's the hole at the bottom. Like if you have a cup and you keep filling it with all of this value, right? Goodwill and marketing and branding and all this stuff that we've talked about today, but you've got a hole in the bottom of that cup, which is a shit product, and the waters just keeps pouring out. You have to fill that hole by having the good product that's going to retain that customer. And I think you'll agree. I'm fairly confident you'll agree that probably the best marketing you can do and the best branding and goodwill that you can create is by having that amazing product that once you've gone to the expense of getting someone to buy it, for that person to become an advocate by number one, buying it again for themselves or their family members or their loved ones as gifts, but telling their friends, hey, this is a dope product.
It's like, it's classic startup, like, whatever, Silicon Valley product market fit, what everyone wants. That's the one thing everybody wants is product market fit. And in your case, or in our case here, it's like, we know we can scale it to the moon, and we know we can pour the water on the towel. We know we can try top of funnel. We know all of that is great.
Yeah.
You just attach product market fit, and it's unlimited potential
And quality product.
right? So that to me is like the most important thing. Like
You're absolutely right.
it's same thing with the juices. It was everything we've done. It's like we knew that we had the best quality product because no one was doing like the way we were doing. We knew it was a fact. And then everyone feels that. It becomes like the energy that it's like when creators, and you would know this, post stuff for free that they buy. Why? Because they love the product, because the product's amazing. That's how powerful a product is.
They're not posting stuff for free. Sorry. So let me.
Yeah. Tell me. Am I wrong?
No. I think it's a semantic debate. I think it's the terminology that I don't agree with.
Okay.
When I post something for free, as a creator, because I'm also like a little mini creator. I'm no Valeria, but
Right.
But when Valeria is posting
Well,
something,
post something that you bought, that you paid like full price for.
even if somebody gave it to us. So
Okay.
a lot of the times what happens is if I showed you like this is like a good day, usually this place is like a shipping and receiving, whether it's our home or Valeria's studio or anywhere where people can get products in their hands. It's crazy. But what I'm saying is that regardless of whether, using Valeria as an example, whether she buys it or whether we get it for free, we have such a high volume of just constant product going through our home that we don't even know anymore if we got it for free or if we paid for it. We really don't know anymore. But here's the thing. If we get the product in and we actually like the product, we're not posting it because we're posting it for free. We're posting it because it's like an editorial. It's part of our content. Do you know what I mean? It's part of our...
Because the product is...
Because I
you
like it.
It's amazing.
Because I like it. So I will... So when the gentleman, his name is Chris, I went out with him yesterday for breakfast and he gave me all this AG1 and I'm like, why are you bringing this AG1? He goes, I'm actually an early investor in AG1. I said, oh, okay, great. And he's like, I wanted you to have this, which is, a great thing. I mean, I'm guessing he's a minority shareholder, maybe not, I don't know. But the fact that like he's coming to me and he knows my connection, like my own audience,
Right.
Larry's audience, I thought that was really cool that he gave it to me. But I'm gonna post it not because he gave it to me. I'm gonna post about it because I actually like the product. Because I've had it before and I like the product. So it's not posting. So just to kind of bring it full circle and clean up what I'm trying to tell you on the terminology side, it's not about posting for free. It's actual editorial. It's real content. It's real.
It's authentic.
It's authentic. Like
Yeah.
I have this pool robot. If anybody who follows me knows that it's like it was the proudest moment of my life when I figured out. I did a search on Amazon, like pool, like robot automated pool skimmer, because I was having a hell of a time every day going out and cleaning the top of my pool
Right.
because we have a lot of foliage here in the
Right.
property. And I got this thing, and I've been posting about them and tagging them because
You love it.
It's the coolest thing that I have this. And same thing with my cold plunge and our sauna. Like it's the same thing. So all of the stuff that I really love, I post. So it's content. And now when product companies send us their product, they actually have a hope that we'll post about it, but they don't have an expectation. So this concept of like, so we used to get a lot less, a lot more before, a lot less now. We'll have companies contact us and say, hey, like, we want to send you this product in exchange for you posting. Those I just delete immediately.
Right.
Because if you have if you want to give me your product,
Right. That's
like,
transactional.
that's like I don't like respectfully. My time is worth more than
Right.
whatever the value of your product is. However, if you're saying, hey, we love our product, we hope you love it too. We want to send it to you.
Yeah.
And if you love it and you post about it, great. If not, cool. Like
Right.
we just appreciate you accepting it. Those people, I'll have much more of an open mind and an open heart when I'm looking at their product because of the way they approached me. And I'll be teaching stuff like that in the academy. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the gold right there.
Yeah.
Is how to approach, and that's why you would be a good fit for the Founders Club, because brands don't understand what you just said.
Yeah.
Like I
No,
just
you're
learned,
right.
I was like, you know what? Like there's so many times where our team is like, hey, just give us your address, and sometimes like, hey, give us your address and do this. And it's interesting that like no, on our end, we're never like there's no quantitative assessment of like
You're right. You shipped me this stuff, and not for the purpose of, hey, Gary, put this in your content. You're
Yeah.
like, hey, you're my friend. I want you to have my product.
exactly.
Right. But
Right.
like your product is here.
Right.
So it's when it's organic and when a creator, again, I'm a very mini creator, like,
Right.
in terms of my audience size, but Valeria is like she's a big creator.
Right.
It's a lot better. So yeah, those are the type of things
Those
that I
are
think,
things that are really important.
well, I think founders should know that. I think they have to look at the data a little different. They have to look at it. And I actually sometimes advise brands. Honestly, I do it for free because when they contact me and say how much, I'm like, I'll spend an hour with you on it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. And maybe I should start charging for it. I don't know. But when I tell them, guys, it's going to sound counterintuitive to you, but whatever your product is, identify, let's say 100 influencers. So you have like a statistically significant data set, and send it out to 100 with just like this super organic, hey, I just saw that you moved, or I saw you just had a kid, or this. So we're just sending you this. We're just sending you this. Don't even say it would be nice if you posted. Say nothing. And then do an analysis afterwards. How many of them posted? And see what kind of media exposure you have. You will find that if you actually have a good product and you approach it organically and you're just like cool about it and you're not like kind of a jerk about it.
Right.
Saying like, if you do this in
Yeah.
exchange for posting.
Yeah.
That's the last thing any of us want to hear. You will find that you'll have such a solid funnel created there. And if
Wow.
so that's definitely something.
Like product seeding, essentially. You
It's
just seed it out.
It's product seeding, but it's funny because a lot of these brands will hire agencies to do this seeding, but these agencies approach us, and I already see them from a mile away. You're so lucky. We're giving you,
Oh,
but
I
they'll
hate
still
that.
do it with Valeria.
Congratulations, you've been selected.
Congratulations. You get this thing that cost them $20 to make, and we want you to give us $50,000 worth of marketing in exchange. You know?
Yeah.
And so
By this date.
so by this day, yeah. And the funny thing is they'll still do it with Valeria, where it's like, serious guys, like
Wow.
you're so. You know what I've done? You know what I've done in the past?
What?
I've contacted the brand, and I said, hey, can I get a minute with like the CEO or
Yeah.
the founder? And they'd be like, yeah. They'd say yes, and I'd say, I just want you to know that just so you know, I appreciate what you're doing. I understand your kind of the business case for what you're doing. But if you continue doing this, you're not going to get taken seriously by creators. If creators don't matter to you, then you should
Right.
continue doing this.
That's
but
really
if you want to have like a good name among creators, don't do this because it just makes you look like you don't. It's not a good look. And they have
That's so
always
true.
appreciated that
It's so
conversation.
true. Wow, that's gold.
Aaron, I feel like we could talk for hours. I think we have talked for hours. This is a lot of fun.
Honestly, we could.
I might nag you for a part 2. I'm looking forward. We're going to dinner with a girl soon. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
I want you to know that I took you straight to my 3rd stage of torture when you came to this house with
yeah.
the cold plunge.
Well, yeah.
I took you straight to the 3rd stage.
Yeah.
I have 3 stages. I have one with just as cold as the cold plunge can get without any ice in it.
Oh, you made it colder.
Then I took the bricks.
Yeah.
I have those casts, those molds, and I
Yeah.
made the bricks from the freezer that's out there. Then the 3rd stage of cold is I ordered from Uber Eats, I ordered bags of ice. Because you're a young, fit guy,
Yeah.
I took you straight to stage 3.
It's the best stage.
I think so.
It was great, actually. The sauna's great. This is the setup. I mean, it's the same setup I have at home. This is like, I feel like any high performer's dream.
It's life-changing.
Yeah, to have a setup where you can be in the cold, in the hot, consistently. There's nothing like it.
I do it every day.
Yeah,
It's
there's
made
really
such
nothing
a
like it.
profound difference to my life.
It's unlimited energy. I feel like you get more cut. I'm more fueled.
Absolutely.
I'm sharper. I actually drink a lot less caffeine now. I don't know if
Me
you've
too.
noticed that. Yeah,
Me too. I went down to 1 cup a day.
I was like a 3, 4
Me
sometimes.
too. Me too.
I'm like 1, and some days I forget.
Yes.
I'm like
Yes.
1, and some days I forget. And that's solely because of the cold plunge sauna combination.
Yeah.
And at night, like I do it, sometimes I'll do it twice in a day.
Yeah, me too.
It forces me to hydrate better.
Yeah.
So now I'm like more hydrated than ever before.
I don't understand how people didn't know about this until recently.
I feel like everyone, first of all, cold plunges were just completely inaccessible, so now they're more accessible.
Well, they're not super accessible because
But they're still very expensive, right?
For
Still, yeah. And then they're like, if
your
you're
brother
living,
has a cold plunge company.
yeah. So my brother has Culture, which is, I would say, is like more affordable because they have like this, like the blow up version of it. They are launching like the hard top, which is like the luxe one. There's some online which like
So is this your younger brother?
Yeah, he's 24. Yeah, they're doing a fantastic
You
job.
helping him out?
Yeah,
You advising him?
Yeah,
Good for
but
you.
he's doing. They're really crushing it. Honestly, I mean, one of the biggest things that they spend all their time on, they were in overseas for like months, was ensuring temperature control because it's the biggest issue amongst all cold tubs.
Control or like, so for me, the ability with mine's made by a company called Renew.
Yeah.
I can't get it cold enough. But
Yeah,
it's
so-
also because I'm in Miami. It's
not.
outside.
It's not because of that.
You think it's the chiller?
So the biggest issue amongst every single cold tub, and by the way, my brother's company had the same issue early days, and they made a pivot to stop and figure it out. But because it's a really up and coming trend, people are just selling. And the biggest issue is what all these companies have really done is they've taken a air conditioner essentially and ran piping through it to chill the water. So it's a makeshift chiller.
Yeah.
It's not like the hot tub industry where they've had water heaters for decades. This is a new technology. And the colder you go, the more issues arise. And the next issue was that this is not a hot tub. Hot tub, much like your pool, you zap it. You're zapping it. We have
Chemicals.
You have a company that probably comes and maintains your pool. You're constantly zapping it. They're testing it. They're zapping it. And with a much simpler filtration process, and you don't have a refrigerator in your in your pool, so you can't chemically induce your water the same way you do your hot tub or your pool because it'll break the chiller. But you need to maintain healthy, clean water because it can be very dangerous. Many people have actually gotten like sick from it. It's very, very dangerous, and you want to keep it cold. So both of those things are in contrast to each other. So they kind of just figured it out in the last year. They've redesigned their own chiller. It's a custom chiller that keeps it clean and cold. And it's the only cold tub now with a skimmer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like, how does it work?
It skims the top. So there's a filter at the top that pulls the water through. So most have a jet that sucks from the bottom and shoots from the top. Yeah. So it's very common.
Yeah.
But it's not a proper skimmer. Right. So I've seen it. You have that thing you skim the top.
I skim it manually. yeah.
So all those things are very important because these tubes in your chiller, and like I would bet life savings, yours, anyone's, that's not a knock on anyone's.
Yeah.
You cut that tube. Well, you won't be able to cut it with scissors, but you saw that tube in half, and you will have a calcium and dirt buildup in it.
You're probably right.
Right. And then so over time, again, this is a new industry. So like now everyone's chillers, everyone's is working. But over time, in 2 or 3 years, that buildup will get bigger and bigger, and the chilling function will cause, it's much like when you have a filter block in your home, it'll cause the chiller to work harder and get more poor and poorer results.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. This one in particular also comes with they call it a mineral stick. It's like this plastic cylinder.
Yeah.
And it's got like it's got perforations in it. And
Yeah,
stuff.
and that creates like an ozonate, like it's an ozonator basically.
They're saying the ozonator is inside the chiller. There's an I don't know.
Yeah, so it adds. So those are all like those are good, but at the end of the day, and I don't think anyone culture is like really starting to come out with it, but not fully solved yet. Is to add a specific amount of chemicals, the right chemicals, because it can't be the same. It's not, you can't put bromine in they'll break your chiller in 10 minutes if you put bromine in, right? It'll just clog up the pores. Is to introduce chemicals to your tub safely that doesn't affect your chiller. And, culture came out with like a salt formula that's working so far, but I really think like over the next 2 or 3 years, they're really going to solve chillers. If you live in a cold climate, you just get one of those water things.
Yeah, it's a metal tub.
Yeah, it's just a metal thing.
Yeah,
but still in the summer, you need a chiller. You really do. Yeah.
Well, I need a chiller all year round here.
You need a chiller all year round. You add the ice, which is great. Yeah. You're in it every day.
Every day.
So you're filtering the water. Like
I try to replace the water every week.
Yeah, so that's good. You want to replace it every week. Most people are not in it every day, and most people don't replace the water. Yeah. So a lot like this is like I always say like this industry is going to go through like a revolution because eventually there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that breaks, and there's going to be the ones that emerge. Much like the hot tub industry did. Like now there's like a few set brands that you buy your hot tub from because they'll last in Canadian winters and whatever.
It just doesn't seem that complex to make water cold. I mean, we've had
that's what we all thought.
Right, but it actually is.
It's super complex. And then there's like, we haven't even introduced energy efficiency. Like I don't even know if you've paid attention to how much more you're paying in your electricity bill because of your tub.
I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
Depending on where you live, it's pretty significant.
I have a sauna too, so I can't even.
Yeah. So then yours is like blended, but everyone knows what their hot tub is, right? It's like $200 a month for your hot tub. Everyone's got used to that one.
Yeah.
But there's an efficiency standpoint, right? So like, is your chiller working 24/7? Is it only working after certain temperatures?
I love how passionate you are about product. You are just so passionate. This is why I'm patiently waiting for you to say, Gary, this is the product that I think you're gonna. Look at. I'm assuming you're going to have some demographic questions about Valeria's audience, and then you're going to be like, "This is the team. This is the product. Yeah. Let's get this done."
The team, the team that will run my stuff is running culture, is running any of the other stuff. The team, the fundamentals of marketing are the same. Yeah. Again, it's all about product because if you Google now, like cold plunges, you're going to get 40 of them. How do you know which one to buy? It's so hard, and they're $5K.
It's reviews.
It's hard. You read reviews. Most of them are fake anyways. We can pay for them. 10 for the hard one, which is yours. Yeah. 5 for the blow up. $500 for the cheap one on Amazon that you have to like break ice cubes in. More like without actually a chiller.
Yeah.
So all those things are really difficult, but over time, you win with an amazing product.
Absolutely,
undeniable. It's almost like. When you I played hockey for 20 years. When you have the best team, you're just like statistically over time going to win a championship.
Absolutely.
Like in basketball, you knew if you had like LeBron and his 2 best friends.
Well, that's why these sports teams invest in the top players, right? Because they want to win. Aaron, thank you, man. This really meant a lot to me. Honestly, I have to say this. It's funny because I think at most episodes, I think this is the best episode. This has been my favorite episode. In most episodes, but then there's another episode that becomes my favorite episode. This is my favorite episode. I've had such a good time with you.
Thank you.
I think this is probably my longest episode, and that's a very positive thing because
it's amazing.
To be so engaged and to have so many kind of common interests to talk about, from the business side to your family story, which I is very fascinating, and I feel that there's a lot of overlap, not on us like getting together and creating an amazing business together, but on the hardships, the immigration, and everything. And I remember your mom, and she was always so sweet. I think she was nice to me because she knew I had an Israeli wife, and she was. I mean, I'm sure she's nice to everyone, but
I think
she had met Valeria years ago.
I think she was. I mean, she's like really nice to everybody, but I think she. I don't remember what it was, but because when we were here in the backyard, Valera was like, I miss your mom. Make sure you tell her I say hi. And I told my mom, and she like remembered everything. She's like, Gary used to come in, you got a specific
Oh, wow.
smoothie.
Okay.
She remembered you had a black Porsche, but you would drive it in the winter. She was like dead
so
on. So
sweet.
she remembers everyone for everything, you
wow.
know? So she's very, she's super attuned and like she pays attention. She probably asks you a million questions. You probably don't even remember answering them. And she remembered it all, you know? So that was another thing, like back to like the customers, like she really got to know.
There's a saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah, I know. She's dialed.
Wow, that was a
Yeah.
compliment to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Aaron,
Yeah.
thank you, man.
Yeah.
I really
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
this. And I look forward to our dinner coming up.
Me too.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome.